Plus Ultra presents The Grey Lodge, Friday Night Gnostic Mass, Shaman Kangz. I'm Jin the Ninja, and I host a show called Threshold Saints, and this is a speculative plus ultra series. Everything that we say is speculative, and yes, we believe magic is real, and yes, we transcend time and space to be together in consent and in discourse in order to see if we can, perhaps, maybe sometimes, maybe once in a while, liberate the word. So I think that's the greater Grey Lodge project, secretly, simply because that's my greater Dharmic project, but not everybody has to share that. Obviously, we come from different angles, different perspectives, but we are all pretty close friends, actually. And it's, as parasocial as it may be, it's... we have overcome a lot, and actually we're kind of popular, so good job guys. What is Shaman Kangz? So Shaman Kangz is obviously extension of the conversation that I had with Fede on I can't remember what day. It's all a blur. The whole week's been a blur, but I will say it was interesting to go up against someone who, not that we didn't, I like Fede. I'm not, it's not me being mean or anything, but it didn't really know who he was, if I'm being honest. I didn't even really read his bio. I just was like, okay, she said he was fine. So I was like, okay, it's fine. We'll just do this. I didn't really realize he was actually like a PhD Buddhist scholar, but I felt okay. Like, I feel like I'm strong. I don't feel weaker. So I just want to say, like, I don't agree with everything that he said necessarily, but I don't have to because they weren't my words. But I also think I could have done a perhaps better job of articulating it, but I think I did pretty well. I think I did pretty well for for the place I was in. And so I just want to say thank you very much to those who came, because I was feeling very insecure, and it made a lot of difference to see you guys, familiar faces, especially because it was extra sensitive, simply because I'm blocked by at least 40 to 50% of Dharma Twitter already. And just knowing that anything I say can be taken out of context, clipped, whatever, and that's okay, and I accept that. But I also I know that I have to contain it carefully. So I tried to do that. Tried to be a good representative of our ideas and my ideas also, and defend them with tantric logic. And I think pretty much I can do that. So I can do that. I shouldn't say I think I can. I know I can defend my opinions with tantric logic, and also things that we discuss. So emptiness, middle pillar, bodhicitta. So I have to disagree with him in saying that I don't think the world needs to be like the carnal ground doesn't need to be extended. That's all conceptual. So it's already there. So just try and abide in non-abiding emptiness in Rigpa. So that's how we're going to start today. And obviously speculative Gnosticism and all of that. And thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. Cool project. Amazing people. And a special shout out to Brother Matt for his tireless work on our YouTube channel. Because that's kind of a big fucking deal to be like, I know I'm slow with my show. I'm slow with like migrating over to YouTube. Not that I'm fully migrating over, but I know I'm a little, I needed the help. So thank you, Matt, so much. And it's really great. I'm glad that we can archive our work further. I think that's actually important, especially for the series that we've done and all the speculative ideas and coming together. Like, it's not nothing. Like, you guys come, dedicate your time, sometimes on perilous roads, and you come and you discourse or you listen. And so that's where the magic happens, is in perception. And also shout out to obviously our McLuhan media chair, Dr. Joseph Reed, quote unquote doctor, but yes, he is to me, so, and as us, I think, for launching Maison Dieu today, but I think it was in the works for a long time. So thank you. Great job, Joseph. Congratulations, and let's fucking go, as Monty would say. So I'm gonna let the co-host all introduce themselves. Actually, I'll say them all just for today, and then I'll let them go as they will. Okay, so Solar Exile, obviously, uh, I'll call him his funny name today is Frater Dark, my hero, Frater Dark Cell Academia, which of course he lives up to in every way. We have Dr. Joseph Reed. We have Matt Murrah, who is obviously we tease him that he's my right hand man, but he's not. He's really he's a free agent, but he's like he's the Dark Prince to my Monkey Sage King. So thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate it. Obviously, Monty, who is our I mean, he's done everything. Monty's been doing every fucking thing. Kurt Cast, talking about writing again, and also check out Monty's piece on the Rare Candy Substack. And Monty just posted it and linked it. So, yeah, awesome. Thank you. Good job, Monty. And of course, last but not least, Dr. William Birkin, our second doctor in the space / lodge, who is a veteran podcaster in his own right. And he is my friend. So, as you all are. So, good job, Joshua. And Joshua and I are recording really soon. We're actually going to record 2 episodes. And I will special shout out to Mr. T Well, who is supposed to record with me tomorrow. So we'll see how that. Well, I mean, I'm sure it will be great. But I'm saying we'll see what happens. Like we'll see if it happens. So. Shout out to him because he's obviously helped a lot in keeping the lodge active especially in the mornings. So I do appreciate it. I obviously notice sometimes I'm in I'm a loner dark cell. What can I say? So I don't always say good morning, which I know I should, but it helps. It brings us all sort of together, and we're like all in perception together. We're seeing the meme together. Yeah, it's magic too. So just as we do here. So anyways, I'm gonna let everyone introduce themselves. Bring Monty up. Bring Mike. Okay, so Mike made it. So thank you so much. Mike obviously is our market forecast. I don't want to label Mike because I don't like that, but he does look at markets and he does look at forecasting. So maybe you could say he's the soothsayer of the graphs. So awesome! Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate you, and so glad to see you here. And yeah, let's see. Okay, so we'll go in a different order today, simply because Solar told me he's unstable connection. We'll say, but we'll keep going. Bring Monty up, bring Matt up, bring as many up as you can, and we'll let you guys introduce yourselves as you will. Dr. Joseph Reed, please go ahead and tell us all the great things that you've been up to.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here. Yes, I'm Joseph Reed at Frodo Bowl here on Twitter. Media chair, McLuhan Chair of the Grey Lodge, media ecology, studies of consciousness, and all things art, theater, film, dance, you name it, the culture that we call fine, I suppose. And yes, my company, which I co-founded with the amazing and enigmatic artist Taiyo Okamoto. You should give him a follow at French Coffee. We have founded our company, La Maison Dieu. I finally got the website built, and there's a Instagram page, which I was furiously putting together this morning. And on our website, you can buy the book, which I had mentioned last week, but I didn't say the title, Sensazione. Sensazione is a visual meditation featuring photography, a sensual artifact, if you will. And we have a short film that we've produced, which interesting things are happening with that at the moment. More on that later. And that's about all. I feel like I didn't do homework, though, Jin, because I have not yet listened to the space. I haven't listened to the Fede space, so I'm a little bit behind on that. My apologies. Thank you, everyone.
You don't have to apologize at all, Joseph. That was a completely spontaneous space happening event, and I wasn't even really prepared to do it, but it happened. It was sometimes those things are just red strings, so I just did it. And so please don't feel like you should listen to it. It basically was Jin, me, uh, like with someone who is like a long-standing Buddhist scholar, and he also runs his own school, and which he calls Vajrakola. And basically, it was just about we have some differences. Is what I realized. There are differences in like how I approach it and how he's approached it. That's not bad. That's totally fine. I just wanted to say that because I'm not sure if it was 100% clear because I tend to I didn't obviously. It's the first time speaking to someone. You don't want to. Yes, I know my reputation, all of that, but really, it's the first time you're speaking to someone, and it is somewhat someone who's well known. So I didn't want to immediately be antagonistic or be misinterpreted as antagonistic. So I probably went in stronger with my view, and then didn't I didn't challenge where I perhaps should have, is what I was told, and I agree with that. So I just want to say, in summation to the whole Fede thing, and then we never have to talk about it again. Not that it was bad. I obviously listened to it several times, so I could hear where I wanted to, where I would change the way I said something. Is that Vajrasattva and Nyandro does not need empowerment. So it really doesn't. You can ask anyone. I got someone to ask a very important lama on my like I just asked him. I said, like, look, what is this? What does your teacher think? I already knew that it didn't, and I was pretty secure in that. But I was like, you have that moment where you're. I self doubted, and I should have just said, I don't think that for me, Vajrasattva doesn't. So I think rectification practice is available to everyone, and I actually know a lot of Tibetan teachers who think that way as well. So I just want to put that in the aether wave right now. So if you're interested in Tantra, you don't have to be interested in Tantra because I practice Tantra. You don't have to be interested in Dharma because I bring Dharmic perspectives to the group. But if you are, like Vajrasattva is available for you. So don't feel like it's being gate kept or like you have to pay for an empowerment. Not for Vajrasattva. And even if you understand the Vajrasattva story, you don't, because that is not really how that tantra works. So I just wanted to say that as kind of a follow up closing. And sorry, I apologize, Solar. Please introduce yourself. Plug. I know you'll say you have nothing to plug, but you do. You do. You have things that you're doing. I don't even know what you do most of the time. I just quiet likes on my timeline. That's all.
Yeah, hey, I'm all about the quiet likes. Hey guys, Solar Exile. What do I have to plug? Well, is it still the latest release of Threshold Saints, the co-host interview with Magister Toby Chappell, which is very cool, on semiurgy and semiotics. I was very excited about that. Let's see. Yeah, I just got back from a week doing spooky left hand path gathering stuff. So I did just want to say, I obviously I was very inactive during that time because it was kind of going full bore on that while I was participating in that event. But it was very nice to be able to kind of return to the chat and use that to kind of ground myself, especially anytime you're in the middle of something that's sort of all encompassing. The sort of you know those lifelines to the outside world can take on like an extra sort of significance and utility. So I greatly appreciate that. I also want to plug, it's not my mag by any means, and I'm not saying that I am going to be writing a thing for it. I think our dear friend, the mysterious alchemist Joseph Kerwin, actually is going to be contributing to it, who is definitely not me. But yeah, I retweeted this little mag that some people are trying to get going in the spirit of things. They kind of envision it as like a sort of closed forum in print form to discuss magical ideas, rituals. So it's theory and practice, right? Just take a look. It's one of my recent retweets. See if you might be interested in contributing. I think the primary editor has like a number of features that he's kind of sketched out. So if you're coming to this, hey, maybe I want to get some words on a page and get something in print, but you don't necessarily have an idea that's like fully developed and ready to go. You can check out some of his ideas, and maybe take one of those or work with him to develop something. Again, it's not my project, but it's something that people around me may have something to do with. And yeah, I just think it's interesting. So I'm just trying to give it some exposure and maybe give some of you guys a chance to participate in work in a different forum than what we do on Friday nights, etc. So happy to be here, guys. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Hell yeah, I love that. I obviously say that you all should participate in writing. Obviously, I believe that magic is at least partly the word. So I think engaging with the word is a pretty good way to kind of engage with magic, at least in a speculative or conceptual practice. Or praxis. So I'm gonna let Mike. Thank you, Solar. I'm gonna let Mike introduce himself, plug, and also, yeah, we'll shout out Joseph Kerwin, our antiquarian odd fellow. We'll say, and lodge member. So awesome, great, good job, Joseph. Okay, Mike, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Great to be here. Thank you for having me again. I planned to be outside. It was super nice. And then I realized my phone was on 4%. I literally ran back to my place. I'm literally sweating. And I'm just going to stay here now. But I made it back in time. And so my name is Mike. I do stuff at the intersection of esotericism, crypto, art, and I think that's it. I'm trying to build something at the moment, which encompasses all of those things. And I missed the first part of what you were talking about, Jen, because we talked about some of the stuff before we were debating about it. I can talk more later about some of the stuff that I do and some of the ways I see some of these things with people who are, because I think it is a little bit of like a controversial, not super controversial, but a little bit controversial. So anyway, I'll just leave it at that for now, but thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for joining us, and obviously you're a great addition to the roundtable. And also, like, I know nothing about, I mean, that's not totally true. I just don't say anything about crypto or market trading, but I actually, like a good Chiner, do follow along. So I'm not a math cell, though. Let me just say, we have a whole roster of those who are better suited to explain it, including Mike. But I do follow the numbers. So abacus maxing all day. Montgomery Carlo, please go ahead, Monty.
Hey, what's up, everybody? We made it. Another Friday space. Great to be here with the Gray Lodge once again. Yeah, I mean, it's. I feel like everybody did my plugs for me, but yeah, it's. I retweeted. I don't know if everybody caught this. There's like Disney news, and that kind of brought up an old article that I wrote about modern advertising and like the men's role in that. I retweeted that. It's on the Rare Candy Substack. So definitely check that out. I have been bored to tears at work all week, so I've been writing a lot of articles that I'm going to be dropping in the next coming weeks. And I also have a very fun surprise coming out with Apocalypse Confidential in the next week or two. So yeah, just pleasure to be here as always. And I'm not going to be able to participate that much this week because I got to do some serious cleaning in my apartment, but it's always great to hear your voices, and again, we made it.
We sure did, didn't we? We have to bring Joshua up, who I am bringing up right now, who is our secret third thing, our Mason. I call him the Master Mason. He is the Master Mason of the Lodge, for sure. I mean, he is a Mason, so, even if he's like a 1 degree or whatever the fuck it is, it's like, he's kind of he's the only one, as far as I know. And if he's not the only one, I apologize, but I just, I can't, I can neither reveal nor articulate things that I cannot see. So, so for now, it's Joshua. Oh, and Matt. Matt didn't go yet. I'm so sorry, Matt. Shit. Okay, brother Matt, please go ahead, and then yes, brother Joshua can go ahead, and then I'll do a room shout out. I apologize.
Joshua can go first. It's all good.
Okay, Joshua, you heard him. Go ahead.
No, he has to be a speaker. Hold on.
No, he appeared to be a speaker. That's what I said. But then I can
Yeah,
go.
it gets kind of buggy when like it doesn't necessarily like appear on everyone's interface who's actually been moved up. I think the host can see an accurate tally, but like mine bugs all the time, so don't trust your eyes.
Okay, should work now. Joshua, brother Joshua, can you hear us? Can you go? Okay, that's fine. He said he was going to drop. He said he had something to do. So I'll let Joshua, when he comes back, he can do a plug whenever that is, okay? You guys know I'm not leaving out. I'm not forgetting about him. Legendary podcaster of the branch. Obviously, Dr. William Birkin, important to me and important to Lodge. So I'm not leaving him unattended. Okay, Matt, please go ahead.
Yes, very happy to be here. Matt Mora, Kabbalah, astrology, tarot, numerology, all crazy things. Talk about anyway, but so not everyone knows it by name, so gotta mention the other ones. Yeah, Grey Lodge, like Jin said, this week was nice. Was deploying a lot of stuff on the YouTube channel. So the plan is to have at least 3 videos per week until we hit the weekly ones, and then we're just gonna, on the next day that we have those here on Twitter, it's gonna be there on YouTube as well. There's also some other cool stuff that we're cooking, but yeah, let's whenever we have that, then I'll announce. Aside from that, you can find some episodes on Threshold Saints, on Occult Rejects, on the Greyheart Pagans podcast, also my website, Kabbalah.com, and there is also the project that I'm reviving again because a lot of nice synchronicities happened with the Archaeometer. So doing a translation, a definitive edition there. It's going to be not only a translation, but some notes as well. And yeah, that's going to be really freaking nice. So if you don't want to miss it, make sure to follow me here and on other places like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all the Gen X stuff.
All the Gen X stuff. That's so brutal, savage. It really is. Okay, I feel so old now. I'm not even Gen X. I mean, imagine how Brother Joseph feels. Just saying. Okay, Joshua, you just popped back in. Brother Joshua, please tell us your projects, plug anything you want, and you don't have to intro yourself. I mean, you can if you want. Say whatever you want.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, your mic sounds good.
Yep.
Wonderful. Okay. Having a little technical difficulties here at the house. I'm going to have to step away here after this and fix something else that's going on. But anyway, yeah, I am a Master Mason. So if you have any questions pertaining to Blue Lodge stuff, I'd be happy to answer any questions or whatever. But I have a couple recording sessions coming up, one with Jen. We'll be doing, and I think Blue Hour Bookery, maybe. We'll be doing some Souls content, Elden Ring type stuff. And then again, we'll be recording also with Nick, I think, and Matt, maybe, on Kabbalah. So I'm real excited about those. Of course, you can always check out prior content on YouTube with MPC 3.14, The Solomon Report. That was my previous moniker. And I do a lot of stuff with Channel KOK TV. We'll be recording a couple things here soon. And tonight I got to get on it. I got to record a blurb for Symbolic Studies Virgo video that'll be coming out. I was supposed to do that last weekend, but anyway. So be looking out for that. That'll be a good one, I'm sure. But anyway, thanks so much for hosting, Jen. I'll be listening for a few minutes while I get these other things sorted out.
No problem. Thank you, Joshua. And I have actually prepared stuff for this week. But John's not here. John may have actually gone on retreat already. And if he is, he's gone for 10 days. Oh, he is? Joshua? Okay, so Joseph's saying he has gone. So I just want to shout John out because he is our resident astrologer. Obviously, other boys, Matt and Mike, also do astrology. So I'm not just saying John, but John is... he is kind of our his teacher is kind of famous, a little like a famous in occult circles. So we are proud of him, and he is a cool dude, and he always helps us. And even if I said I put him on retainer, instead of like paying a one-time thing, I try and do like a little bit every month. So it is kind of like that. But I said it buys me 3 molding DMs a week. So, but to be honest, he also is fine to answer my questions, and we actually field different ideas. So we were actually discussing that. I'm sorry to reference it, Joseph. We were referencing the interview I did, and we were talking about something, and then it came up maison Dieu, like he was like, okay, so the V. And so I related this story from the Fifth Element, and I was like, well, it's the V is like, this is the 22nd letter of the Phoenician alphabet, and U is a very modern sort of reinterpretation. W is actually wrong, it's double V, and just like we say in French. And so so we had a little conversation about that, and he was like, wow, Jen, you actually can explain it in like an easy non-complicated way. And I was like, well, yes, but I it's hard, it's really hard. I mean, I struggle. I mean, I feel like you can't fully articulate the truth, like, and you can't. So but you try and do your best, the best that you can. So that's what I thought, is like, maybe I'll discuss this Fifth Element. But obviously I thought about it, and I was like, I did actually talk about this in context to Aeon of the Daughter. I said it was part of the canon, indisputably part of the canon. Love is the fifth element, but it's also Akasha, it's also mind, it's also like it's also the perception of when he says, like, I'm not going to say it because I'll blush, but when he tells her the L word, she hears it, and it's like for the first time, but it's actually not the first time they said it to each other. It's kind of interesting if you think about it from a tantric way. He's saying it to her, and she hears it as it is received. Like, she understands it's for her, so she perceives it, and then she's able to unlock the fifth gate. It's basically what it is, or the fifth element. So, and stops the evil, right? The evil blackness of space. So it's pretty cool. But the conversation was about V. So really, that's what I was thinking is. There's a sequence earlier where she goes, there are no good words. She's molding. She's doing a Jin. And so she's like, there are no good V words. And he says, actually, there are good V words. And she's like, okay, name one. And so he says, well, love. And she says, well, that doesn't start with a V. But he's like, but he says something. I don't remember exactly what. But if you think about it, it's necessary. It's necessary for the word. So I think that that is a lot to do with that film, is like a reconciliation of the word. It's love and it's emptiness, because you could even relate her to a self-arising Dakini. Like, it wouldn't be weird if you described it like that. So I just think that there's a Dharmic. I'm not saying the film is sutric or tantric or anything, but I do kind of think it is tantric, if I'm being honest. I think there is an allegorical metaphysics, if you want to call it, informed by something else. That's fine. Maybe he wasn't influenced by Tantra or Dharma, but you can read it as that, and you can understand it. She's perfect. Self-arising Dakini Queen. Self-arising means she doesn't know who she is. She's Sophia without a name, but she does have a name. Also starts with an L. Also interesting, given that L is so important to kind of the Aeon of the Daughter framework. So I don't want to go on about that, but I just thought it was interesting, Joseph, because you kind of generated that conversation. And then I was like, well, I need a quick, fast, interesting, funny title for tonight. And someone suggests, Monty had a great title, or he had a great 2-liner. He did like a really like sick bars, as we call it, right? And so I was like, okay, but I can't use his bars for our title. I have to use something that it doesn't have to come solely from me, and that's kind of the point, but I have to make sure it's my words, because I hate this. I hate when you don't credit someone, and it's hard to credit on the poster. So I just prefer to use my own words, because then I don't have to worry. It's like no one can say anything, right? Because I just came up with it. So, and I would never want to steal from any of you. That's the truth too, or anyone. I hate a cliche. Nothing more egregious. Although I use them all the time, so a bit of hypocrisy, as it happens. But basically, that's what it is. So, Shaman Kangz. So, this is something that I think we talked about a lot, have discussed many times. The we was Kangz. And I think it really applies to everyone. And I think it's not accidental that I named it this in this week of like, we've just seen so much decoherence, as I have called it. I know Joseph used a different word, and I actually like the word that Joseph uses, but I'm going to again use my own word. So I think we're in a time of decoherence. I think that's no more clear now, but I think we've also seen a lot of people like become re-normie. Thank you so much, Avi. Appreciate that. Become re-normiized, or whatever you want to call it. They've sort of settled on the foundations. And so there's that post about Saturn's rings dissolving. We've talked about this. The rings of Saturn dissolve from its interaction and relationship with Neptune. That's sort of a more tantric idea. Banan, Hokmah. It's kind of an interchange, kind of push and pull of alternate forces. So I think that's kind of the ground that we're on right now, and people have sort of rationalized the last few years that have been very irrational and very decoherent, but in a different way. And they've kind of been like, okay, politics is normal, the world is normal, but everyone kind of knows that it's not too. Like, we all kind of know, but we're all choosing to say very little. And I think that's a better way until we kind of get a grasp of like what is actually worth saying. So I think this is a great time, and I'm so glad that everyone is looking inward in a way and like wanting to produce works, art, writing. This is the time. This is what, this is a property of Hokmah. This is a property of Neptune. Very powerful, right? So we're gonna shift, we're gonna be Quicksilver surfers, and we're gonna go with it. And I'm obviously gonna furiously retweet and praise all of you for doing your projects, because that's what the whole point. That is the whole point. So, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't really do room shoutouts last week, so let me do them this week, because I know people. It happens in consent. It happens in perception. We have to recognize the people that come, and it's also a lot of people from our lodge. So that's sort of where the synthesis really happens. So, Rage, thank you so much for coming, Rage. This is your second space like that I've really seen you here. I'm sure there's been others you popped in. I just don't remember, but it's great to have you. It's great to get to know you in the chat, and thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it. And you obviously are, you have some bangers. So again, good job, Mr. T-Well. Thank you so much for coming. I think this is your first live space that you've been in the space with us in synthesis and consent. My mouth is actually not dry tonight. So thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you as a Dharma poster. I hope that we record tomorrow. I hope it works out, and I'm really excited. And please don't be nervous. I'll be nice. I'm in a good mood. I really am. And yeah, I think we'll have a really interesting discussion. I actually have several episodes on Tantra. I've just been keeping it really quiet, coming out. So I think it'll be a really interesting, or at least episodes on Buddhism. So there's a lot of Dharma, obviously solar, kind of, we broke that gate together in a way, because I wasn't quite ready to discuss Dharma with anyone else. And then, so we did that, and then it kind of happened that there was more people that wanted to come on and discuss Dharma. So that's basically what happened. So I'm looking forward to it, and I think it's a great era for Saints and for the Grey Lodge. Avi, thank you so much, Avi. Thank you so much for coming yesterday. You were under no obligation to like, support, retweet, but you always do, and it means a lot, because this is how we get out there, right? And also, it matters because, we're all boys. All the hosts are boys, right? So you have to have the dakinis at least around. You have to. And interesting, our other member from Finland, and Avi, I have more words of praise for you, so I don't think I'm forgetting. But our newest member from Finland, Fluxion, he and I were discussing today. He's a Dharma practitioner. Yes, he has empowerment. But we were talking about the Sangha and how the Sangha is really the ocean of dakinis. That's really how it's even described. Like the secret meaning of dakinis is really the Sangha. Like you can say, okay, I take refuge in what is that? I can't even remember the normie way. Anyways, the thing is like the Sangha is also the ocean of dakinis. So if you understand it in a tantric way, I'm not saying that you should or aspire to, but if you're curious, if you're tantric here, okay, this is actually an interesting way. So the dakinis in their presence are the embodiment of wisdom, but you still have to discern it for yourself. So it's not perfect wisdom, it's not pranaparamita wisdom, but it can be, but requires practice and discernment. So that's also what a Sangha is, or Sangha is. It's also like well, it's really interesting actually, because I was reading a book specifically on this a few weeks ago, probably a month ago actually, and they were talking about some early configurations of Sanghas and spiritual communities, but it was all Buddhist. So, but different tantric sort of configurations over the last 500 years. And so, what a Sangha was really in the peak tantric period was it was kind of like a family, but not in the Charles Manson way. Maybe it was. In fact, many of the practitioners would call each other brother and sister. So I found that very profound and interesting, and I had always intended to bring it up in one of the spaces, but obviously I go on different tangents every week, so it can be hard to sort of reground myself in material knowledges and footing. But I felt like that was profound simply because it's like, what is that? Like, your relationship with like spiritual siblings should actually be as it should be better maybe even than your blood siblings. Not to say that you shouldn't work on those as well. You should. I'm not, again, not we're not a weird cult in the desert. I'm not saying to cut off people. I'm just saying that that it can be both more challenging to have spiritual siblings simply because you are going to be inherently different and have inherently different experiences, and there will be sometimes communication issues, but you have to also push through and accept people. I know both of you are laughing at me. You're both going to get it. I'm just kidding, obviously. I love you. Thank you. But you have to press through, and sometimes you have to also know that you have to let go. You have to let go of a lot of like preconceptions. Like I'm the most paranoid person. Like if you say something to me, I'm like, I always think you have good intentions, but then I'm like, well, what does this mean? What is like the deeper sort of subtext? Because that's how, some people's families, they do communicate more like that, like more in a subtextual way. So I'm naturally inclined to look for that. So, but it challenged me to be like, you can't do that, because we're all somewhat anon. Whether we're anon or not, like obviously some people use their names, and we've always said like that's totally up to you. It's not, no problem. And if you choose to be anon, that's okay. But in a way, we're still all kind of anon. And there is a layer that we just have to like let go. Like you can't, it's never gonna, that's the nature of what we're doing, and that's the nature of our relationships with each other. So, but I will say it is interesting and it is a challenge, but it's a great challenge. Every single day I wake up and then, like, I can be in the most horrible mood, and I just think, you know what? Put on a fucking smile, send a GIF, and let's see what happens. So thank you so much, Avi, and sorry for that tangent about takinis, but I did think it's interesting. And also, as I said in the chat, but I've said this many times, anytime takinis are mentioned, it also means that they're around. So think about that. Kind of interesting. Sir Tim of the Tunnels, our Happivorian brother from Hawaii. Thank you so much, Sir Tim, for coming. Logi, we appreciate you very much. And of course, Ashley, Think Change Repeat from Union of Unknowns and Knights of the Storm with Jason Barker. on Rumble, and all, I think, available on all audio podcast platforms, as well as Union of Unknown. So if you are interested, Ashley's a great podcaster. She's just like us. She, started during the threshold of COVID, like many people. Like she walked through those gates of like perceiving reality in a different way. So we all came out a little weirder, a little different. And basically, we're trying to figure it the fuck out now. So Ashley obviously recorded an episode with me, episode 49, Cult Fiction, and Ashley's coming back to do the Wheel of Time series, which obviously we've been talking about also in the chat. So shout out to Ashley, and we've also done an NDE series. This was when I was like very green, and Ashley was my podcast senpai for sure. And but I think we did a really interesting 2-arc episodes on that, and we always had intended to do like quite a few, just never. It wasn't either of us really our fault. It was just how it happened. So look out for that, and obviously check out Ashley, and yeah, it's great to have her in the lodge as well. Of course, Frater, Singapura, Ram himself. I won't say it, or shall I say it? As John said, Saffron, sleazy. It was pretty epic, honestly. That was a great line. Good job, John. Ram, we greatly appreciate you. We love all your contributions in chat. You obviously we'll call you a co-writer, a co-creator, co-creator of reality or of metafiction that we do here in the Aether Wave series. So thank you so much, Ram. Good job. Aether Punk, excuse me. So I'm sorry, I apologize. Aether Punk. I should remember my own titles. But yeah, thank you, Ram. Appreciate it that you transcend time and space coming to us from obviously your little island of Hyperborea. And make no mistake, that is partly Hyperborea too. Okay, so we've got Joshua. I'm going to bring you back up. Sorry, Josh. Okay, Zachary Shumar, content creator, co-host on Threshold Saints. Obviously, amazing dude, my friend, and Don. I know. I tease Zach because we recorded the episode. I loved it. I was like, fuck, I'm gonna do more of these like I've been doing with Monty. And actually, we don't have to choose like just these series. We can actually. I'm fine to talk about any series, really, because there is kind of not every series, but I'm fine to discuss contemporary series because I think there are several. Obviously, we did Freerin, so there's several that are really interesting. But Don really is my favorite anime, as Mookie knows. So it was great to do that with you, Zach. Thank you so much, as well as our seminal first deep cut Tracy Twyman plus fucking Ultra, which in many ways served as the genesis to these spaces. I wouldn't say Aeon of the Daughter came from Tracy in any way. I had the idea for years, but I was scared, very scared, to articulate it because I thought it sounded fucking insane. So basically, that helped me. So thank you very much, Zach. Zach's also a content creator and an experimental jazz musician. I mean, he doesn't just do jazz, but I would say he's into it right now. So we'll just go with that. And thank you so much, Zach. Blue Hour Bookery, thank you so much. Awesome poster. Always beautiful Kino on the timeline. You all know I appreciate beautiful Kino. I'm a true millennial hipster. I love handcrafted shit. I love the books, the book covers, the paper, everything. I think that's incredible. Obviously, I am somewhat, or I shouldn't say I am. I've long retired from plant and material alchemy, but I did perhaps was a proprietor of a very niche occult botanica a long time ago that made specialty oils, mostly for myself. But yeah, so I appreciate it in that way. But I have talked about that a little bit before, so it's not really that much of a surprise. But I love it. So thank you so much, Blue Hour Bookery, and I can't wait till we can have a conversation for Saints. And obviously, I appreciate that you joined the lodge and put up with all my and our nonsense, but mostly mine. Thank you so much. Obviously, we're also Canadian, so we share the link of living in a crazy, crazy world. Mookie, last but not least, of course, Crowface Zucchini, my biggest. I would say her and Avi, like between Avi and Mookie, I have the it's like massive love and support. Always, I always feel like I'm always seen, always heard, at least by a few people. So thank you so much, Mookie, for transcending time and space to come to us from the Smoky Place, from the Carnal Ground, as everywhere in the world is also the Carnal Ground, but it's also the garden. Also can be remade into something else, into something that is not inherently contained in ferocious imagery. Because yes, even though life and death does happen on the garden, we can sort of be non-abiding in those moments, right? So we can kind of look at it with non-transfiction, non-fixation on ferocious things, and we can just accept it with bodhicitta. So it's a good lesson, and no one understands that better than Mookie because she cares for Saint of the Birds, truly. Okay, so we're all here. We're all in consent. We're all in synthesis. I know some of you have to drop. That's totally okay. It's just cool to all be together for like even 10 minutes. Even 10 minutes. It's like we can just talk about whatever we want. Obviously, the timeline's been really fucking bad. It's been really slow. It's not really worth getting into. It's the same people pushing the same bullshit as always. The same fake stories. I mean, they're not the same. You can tell they're trying to reformulate it, repackage it, re-narrativize everything. Tell you, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. Then you have like, I won't even say, but you have like the most hilarious press conferences I've ever seen in my not insubstantial millennial still, but not insubstantial amount of decades. But just the most outrageous, like almost computer generated. Like if you were to take like a 90s video game and give them the cheesiest lines, the cheesiest voice acting, that's basically what's going on. So, but don't blackpill, because we don't blackpill. It's not useful, it's not pragmatic, and it's not the truth. Because reality can also be whatever you make of it. Your life is your own great work. So what's the point in that? And why, as to reference Joseph, like why be captured? Why be captured in their narrative angle? Aren't you a master of your own will? Aren't you an agent of your own being? I think you are. You might not believe that, but I think you are. So, yes, Joseph, please go ahead. I was hoping someone would warm.
Congratulations. No, that was a great job, Jen. Thank you so much. No, in terms of what you're talking about, you had mentioned like, I don't know what exact like specific examples, but this kind of like things renormalizing or like landing on like the normal side, people accepting this. What I think we need to be aware of is we are now in the era of the short aeons. Like the aeons are going to cycle faster and faster and faster. So of course there's going to appear a, a period of stability in each of those cycles. But I think what we're going to see is things keep shifting, and those periods of like quote unquote stability may become faster and faster until it becomes unbearable. And then it'll be breakdown as breakthrough. Breakdown as breakthrough. That's what it will be. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Well, I agree with you, of course. I mean, not of course, but I do happen to agree with you, and long have. So that's where we're at. We're in a place of very expedient, very dancing. That's obviously the metaphor that I like, but it's the dancing bikini. It's like that's the aeon. So keep up with the flux. Yes, Mike, please go ahead.
Sure. So I've heard you guys talk about the aeons many times, and I know about it from you guys talking about it, but I'm not sure about the length of the aeons. Do you mind just commenting on that real quick? And then I have something else I would like to add.
Sure. So I guess in my framework that I've explained, I consider the aeon of the daughter to be a short aeon. just like Joseph's saying, it's like if you want to give it a number, now I'm just giving a speculative, very important speculative number. But John and I have discussed it more astrological, more foundational sort of material framework. And so I would be comfortable saying, as a speculative idea at least, that it's 113 years. So the number doesn't really matter though, because it's just in perception. So it's just like a shorter aeon that is about the turning, so the wheels going around all the way, and basically we're just in perception of that, and then we have to make of the wisdom as it arises or as we understand it, sort of reformulate it. Okay, so Mike and Solar. Mike, please go ahead. I know you have your hand raised first, and then Solar, obviously.
Okay, so I didn't realize it was that short. So it is very close to the saculum, which is 80 to 100 years, but it may or may not be not the same, but it may or may not be like closely. I mean, I'm sure it's, I don't know, it's very close, so it might be related in some way. But I know from what I've noticed is that there's within this cycle, there's been a back and forth. And what you say with how people are acting right now being more like a return to normalization, things were getting crazy and not that long ago, but crazy in different ways. So just from my perspective, being in the markets, especially, things were getting completely out of control with meme tokens and things like that. And it was very degenerative. People were just doing anything, and it goes beyond just the market, but I feel like that was just a good scope to catch it in, to see just a container to see how it's like reflecting in other parts of the world. And it reached a tipping point at some point where people just got sick of it. People got sick of things being so degenerate that it became more cool or acceptable to have things return to normal for a bit. And I don't think things are going to be, I think we'll see things kind of flip to the other side again. But yeah, it definitely seems like we're in a period right now where it's like we just landed on dry land and stable, and it's the craziness has been kind of going away and dropping into the background a little bit.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike. Yes, I totally agree with you. I think that I think it's still in the background, like the craziness, and I think that it's going to be reemergent very soon. But I think people are kind of letting their consciousness sort of be at, I want to say rest, but it's not really at rest. Okay, Solar, please go ahead. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no, man, you're good. I just wanted to give like an alternate sort of like presentation of aeons, not like here's the grand history of this sort of idea from like Crowley onwards, but you could also look at this as like to exist within an aeon is for a person to sort of align with the, what do you want to say, sort of values, frequency, resonance of an idea, of a sort of deity complex, of a set of values, whatever, right? And so the sort of like classic example when someone's introducing this in a general audience book is to say like, well, so people like Wiccans are living in the Aeon of Isis, right? Right now, whereas Christians, for just to give the other token example, right, right now, as 1500 years ago, are existing in the Aeon of Osiris, right? And Telemites, are enjoying living in the Aeon of Horus, and maybe some freaks out there have pushed the boundaries with Satan or Set or something or other. I don't know about that. But anyway, yeah, so it's the idea that you are sort of like manifesting and tuned to a sort of particular set of ideas that you are sort of making concrete in the world. You are acting as a node for those energies, for those ideas, right? And the idea is that the aeons don't supersede one another. And it's not about chronological time. Now, that isn't to say that there can't be sort of changes, right? Like aeons might disappear, right? Certain ideas might sort of like, wax and wane and completely disappear at, for a period of time or for forever, quote unquote, whatever that means, only to reemerge either as themselves or transformed into something else, etc. Right? And I think there can actually be kind of like an interesting sort of interaction between these different ideas of what an aeon actually means, right? Like I don't think it's one or the other, right? You can embrace this idea of sort of cyclical periods of time as aeons or yugas or something like that, while also understanding them as basically sort of formal instantiations, right? However you want to say that. Also, as a brief thing, I want to say like, so what I think is interesting too is, so in this age of discoherence, this asks a lot of people, people at all different levels of sort of agency, self-ownership, and self-sovereignty, right? And so I think what we're seeing is, as people are tasked to sort of sort things out for themselves, right? There's less secure footing, there's less sort of like universally acknowledged grounding, there's less sort of social programming, right? Yeah, the social parasites are sort of weakened and lost. You find people flailing around, unsure of how to steady themselves, and people just get exhausted, right? And so you'll see this sort of like ebb and flow as people make their way back to sort of existing narrative frames, existing archetypes, existing systems of belief, even if those systems or archetypes or whatever are increasingly poorly suited as explanatory tools and pole stars of to guide people. But it's hard to swim, either against the current or just, like in a neutral field, right? And so you find people just kind of collapsing. But then again, the same pressures are there, the incentives are there. You're going to see, the reservoir of energy built back up, and people will be ready to, I don't know. It's going to be a cyclic thing that I think is repeat over and over again in this age of decoherence.
Thank you, Brother Solar, for explaining that concisely. I think I have, but not today. But I think in the past. But I need you, so I guess that's why you're here, right? I'm just kidding. I appreciate that. It was great. I agree, 100. I agree 100%, 110%. We'll say that's a perfect encapsulation of it. I also think the Aeon is something that we embody in our consciousness. I think Solar said this, but I'm going to say it a little more explicitly. And so we, like when I talk about like the Aeon of the Daughter or set, like obviously I think of it more as the Gnostic set and not necessarily the same one that Solar may or may not know about. And I don't know about that set either, so I don't know. So, but when I'm talking about it, or Zoe or whomever, like the Aeons that I kind of focus on, I tend to think of it as like you have to rectify them. It's kind of it's another rectification of the word. So, or the rectification of their bija, you could say, of their syllable, of their name. And just like even speaking the name out loud is like, that's a kind of powerful act, metaphysical work in and of itself. And so that's kind of how they're embodied is like in us, but they're also empty, right? Like it's emptiness. It's existing like in the space between, but it's also in our consciousness. So we are kind of the aeons too. And I've said this is like we are the aeon. This is also the aeon of man. Like I'm cool with God. Like I like God. I think that's great. I just think this is the aeon of man. So you can interpret that however you want, but for me, it just means that exactly what Solar said. Like this is a time that we have to take agency of our own lives, ourselves, the place where we live. It's scary. It's the carnal ground. So how do you navigate that? Like, what do you make of that? Okay, so sorry guys. I didn't want to do. It was not intended as a sermon. Joseph, Reed, please go ahead, and then Monty, I see your hand. And hello, our brother Moonblade, who's a member of our lodge. Sick bro, amazing. I think you're obviously teaching me all these crazy Zoomer shit that I don't know. And Robin, of course, our art mother will say, thank you so much for coming. Appreciated the space. Speaking to you for the first time on Monty's space. So great to see you here as well. And Cassandra, of course, who is in our lodge. She's both technically in our lodge as well as honorarily. We really appreciate you, Cassandra. Thank you so much. A content creator, Etsy, and magical services purveyor, practitioner of Gnosticism and Kabbalah. Okay, sorry guys. Joseph, please go ahead.
Thank you, Jin. So I was inspired by something Solar said, fantastic explanation, Solar. It was really great. And I want to kind of continue the metaphor, like this ocean of people swimming against the current, and then they kind of like congregate around these, I don't know, you want to call them belief systems or structures, or dare we say ideologies, things like that. And since we are in a speculative space, I was like, maybe it would be interesting to put the question forth to the group, like which of those, because people are kind of going back and forth from them, going away from them, but then congregating, which of those structures do you think will become waterlogged and then will just be like abandoned in the future? Which ones have really served their purpose? Like people are just like going back to a husk, and then and I'll start, like the one that immediately popped to me is like any kind of like top down structure, any kind of like needing a daddy's permission to tell me to do something, whether it's okay, that kind of like, I don't know if we want to call it pyramid or whatever, but like that kind of centralized top down structure. I feel like we are moving out of our adolescence and into a bit of a young adulthood as a species, perhaps. So maybe we can call our own shots. So interesting question we can put to the group. What do you think?
I totally agree, Joseph. I totally agree. I'm gonna let the boys go though, so because you've all heard me speak a million times. Monty, oh, thanks, Moonblade. Okay, Monty, please go. I think it was Monty first, then Mike.
It was.
Okay, all right, that's right. Okay, Monty, please go ahead.
Yeah, it's so the as we're like approaching these like short aeons, and again, I learned this stuff through you guys, and so this is just a little brainstorming out loud. But something that I've at least noticed is that if we're going into the aeon of man, and its relationship to God, I think that it's important that we notice that at least the new quote unquote like conservative movement with happening with young people, it is not this religious, like these kids aren't moving to monasteries. They're just proclaiming themselves as followers of God. Like we've been living in this ever like bending and evolving space, like socially, where we have to accept these very like far out concepts like in a very short amount of time. You had to be an expert on like all progressive issues, and I think that it's the rejection of this and saying like, no, I'm not one of these like blue haired like college students. I am a man, woman, or child made in the image of God. And this very I would call it surface, but I know it has like more meaning to it, almost like a banner or a sigil that they wave. That is kind of like a synthesis. It's actually kind of uncanny at how it's the age of man is in. I don't want to say using God as a skin suit, but carrying the torch of God in relation to asserting like one's personhood again.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree, Monty. I also think it's like interesting to note that if you want to compare it to like the Gnostic text, like the epinoia, so technically, like the daughter or love, you could just say love, is like the thought of the father, but it's like free in the world. So like we have to like sort of redetermine or reconstitute what even that means. So I think that that is exactly what you're talking about. I hope it is what you're talking about, Monty. So I agree and I appreciate it. Okay, Mike and then Matt, please go ahead.
Okay, so I want to comment on Joseph Solar's and Monty's takes. So Joseph's first, like, I don't know if I have an answer to your question, but what you were saying sounded a lot like the Age of Aquarius type of thing where the power is coming back to the people and the power is within the individual to take hold of that themselves rather than relying on the central structures to do that for them. And there's pros and cons to that. I don't think it's I think most people would actually see that as an overall good thing, but I do think there's cons to that as well. As with anything, I think there, in some cases, it is good to have central structures, depending on certain cases where just if there is, when control is so decentralized, it can not always be the best structure to control things. But it is very nice to be in this state right now where we have all these technologies and the foundation is being recreated by the people who want to do it because they have the power to do it, because they have the access to these technologies. And I just, with myself, I often wonder how I would even be in another lifetime, like another era, because I've been so reliant on different technologies, whether it's the internet or AI, like as of recently with LLMs, I've been using it so heavily to build the things that I'm trying to do. And if I didn't have that, I don't think I would be able to do what I'm doing. And people have built things like this before, but they've just had more access to resources, which help them do it. And with, I want to comment with the return to conservation, or being, or not conservation, to conservatism and this return to God. And one thing I noticed, I'm on Twitter and I'm in the middle of a bunch of different communities. I'm often seeing how they move with different energies, and it's always interesting. And I catch a lot of synchronicities on Twitter. I've noticed individual synchronicities are more macro ones with just the way that the energy is moving overall. And I remember things were getting really, really crazy, and it was becoming overwhelming with how degenerate it was. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with those. Monty mentioned them last time. Those profile pics, whatever they're called, they were saying retardio, and someone commented that retardio means return to God in Latin. I was like, wait, what? I thought that was insane because I thought it was just a joke, and it seemed so perfect with the timing of the cycle. It just seemed like a synchronicity to me. It was like, and it was the most silly synchronicity or just sign of where things were going. And there has been this return to God in a sense, because people are looking for, things have become more introverted. People are looking more inside, and things got crazy, and people are looking for a little bit of a deeper meaning, and it's just the natural way of the cycle. And yeah, and just come, and then that plays into what Solar was saying with surfing with the energy. It's just inevitable. You have to move with the energies. You can kind of do your own thing, but your chance of succeeding at certain points, if you're trying to go against the wave, is almost zero in some cases. It really depends. So you really have to move with it. And right now that seems to be where the wave is going.
Could not agree more, Mike. Could not agree more. I think that that's a perfect encapsulation of what we're, at least what I'm thinking, and I think what we're all talking about as well. And I do think it's a good thing. I do think the inward turn is good. I think this is kind of like, I'm not talking about return to tradition. I'm talking about the maybe more fundamental question. And it shouldn't be so mediated by institutions. I know I'm sounding like such an anarchist right now, and in some ways I'm okay with it. I've actually made my peace with it, that I have that inclination a little bit inside, and always have. Okay, so, Matt, please go ahead. I'm sorry, brother. Please go ahead, and then Joshua.
No worries. So on the idea of eras, first of all, it's very interesting that actually it was a couple weeks ago that I first read, but now Jin mentioned again, era of men, or aeon of men. And the Aquarius sign being the men, right, with the water. That's very interesting. But what I wanted to say is, well, when you think about in terms of the collective, right? So a lot of people having the same idea. So like similar to what Solar was talking about. Think about how couple hundred years ago, or maybe thousands of years ago, at least the story that we are told, is that people used to live in a certain way, right? Mostly because of their technology. For example, if the technology that you had only gave you the possibility to live a specific life, then you would live in accordance to that life. Kind of like how Mike was talking about. If nowadays we have internet, we have a bunch of stuff, we are going to do things that maybe people from before wouldn't do or would do differently. So right now, the idea that I can see the most to try and answer Joseph's question is that, well, first of all, everything is kind of becoming more nomad. So it doesn't really make sense for you to be somewhere because, well, you have the internet. You can be anywhere. So why would you stay in just one place, for example? So everything is like virtual. Everything can be accessed from whatever you are. So why would you stick to being in one place, right? It stops making like practical sense because, well, you can test around other places and so on. And then you kind of have to start to make a synthesis of all the places that you go through, right? Another idea is that, well, again, because now you start linking things together, because now you are so much more nomad, you are not necessarily creating like physical families. And when I mean family, I don't mean only blood family, but like groups of people and so on. You're not creating digital families, right? But that makes it so it is more likely that you're going to just like it is more easy to kind of lose touch, right? Because let's say even you can be best friends with someone, but then if you get like internet gets down or something, or the platform that you were using to speak with that person gets shut down, or you get banned or whatever, like you may lose touch with that person, right? So it is then more likely that you're going to focus more on yourself, so on what you like carry with you. And in a way, it's kind of also related to Aquarius, right? Like what do you think is right? So it's a lot about questioning the dogmas, questioning, oh, why it should be done that way. Like you want to know about it, but then you want to quote unquote enforce your way of thinking because you think, no, I'm the right one, you know. Especially now, again, with the internet, everyone thinks they're right about everything and so on. And in another way, because now we are breaking all of those like ideas, all those dogmas, all those things that we are supposedly had to believe before, it kind of makes it also a transcendental thing. So if we want to say like, what's the religion, quote unquote, of the Aeon, we could summarize in these three like keywords, like it's individual, it's nomadic, and it's transcendental. Like you're trying to go beyond what was there. You're trying to go like it's kind of like futuristic, right? Like what's next? So you're not necessarily focusing on now because, well, the now is the past, let's say, in this kind of idea where every week supposedly things get better and things get faster and it's like always improving and so on. Just not to say it's 100% true, but that's the idea that is tried to pass now. Also, to point out something that Mike said, and I agree. Well, if you think everything now is digital, the thing is, if everything's digital, it means that it also can be controlled. So even though I agree with Joseph with the idea that things get more decentralized, so, well, because you can just do things and so on, like there's less power, concentrated power somewhere. If everything gets in the digital realm and everyone's interfacing with the digital realm, it is also more likely that we can just be controlled out of it as well. So, for example, in Brazil, there's basically no more cash anymore. It's all like digital money. And well, if it's digital money and if it's enforced by the government, like it's the API, as we call it, like the interface, it has to be regulated by the government. It basically means that, well, if one day the guys decide that you cannot use your money in a certain way, or they want to tax it straight from the thing, they can just do it, right? So it is good. Again, pros and cons. It is a very good thing that you can just instant send someone the money and you don't have to carry on with you and so on and so on. But at the same time, it leaves the possibility for higher control, right? Or even if you're walking around with your Ray-Ban Meta glasses, recording everything because you want to use your AI to summarize your whole day and so on, like optimize and whatever. Well, your whole life is being recorded, so who knows what people might do with that recording? You know what I mean? So in the same way, there's some apps like you can use in your computer that record, like take a screenshot of your computer every now and then, so you can remember everything. Like again, it facilitates, but at the same time, it can bring a problem. Or let's say your digital car, like your car now is connected to the internet and it can self-drive and so on. Well, sure, again, if it catches you speeding, it can already give you a ticket, or it can already block your car, or it doesn't matter. Like again, it is both pros and cons, as with everything. So I think that's an interesting speculative idea. And again, if we look back, it is very nice to see how I think Solar was talking about this, how some people are still trying to live the past aeons, right? So let's say you would have people believing still that, oh, that's the right way of living. Okay, it maybe was in the past, but nowadays there's so much more things that it's not really maybe helpful, you know? So just some food for thought on that as well.
I totally agree, brother Matt. I think that I legit agree. But I also think there's a, maybe this is me being like an old troon. Okay, yes, Rom, I'm old. I got it. Okay, but I really think that this is one thing that maybe us old troons can tell you, is that your relationship with technology and with consumptive, I know you already know this, you're very smart, but your relationship with all those like consumptive technologies, that's completely within your control, your will. So I think you know that. I'm just saying it for the audience, more for, and then it's speaking at you. So, but I agree. I'm gonna let Joshua go, then Rage, then Solar, obviously, and okay, I'll try not to be interstitial. So, Joshua, please go ahead.
Actually, I don't remember hearing Rage talk. So is he a first timer? If so, I would like to defer to him.
All right, Rage is. I think maybe Rage has spoken one other time, but it's been so long. We've done so many of these, so I don't remember. So, Rage, please go ahead.
No, and thank you. I just laughed when you said to give me this turn. Um, to be honest, no, I haven't spoken. I've always been a lurker, and always like, because as a personal being, I just am a hermit, mystic, and I do stuff on my own and filter a lot of stuff. But I see everything that you guys post and everything that you guys do, and I really value the passion, the excitement that people go into the world and bring out their excitement into it, because that's how we present change into these eons, into these epochs of time. And on the topic, the idea is that every cycle of time, which goes up to start of time, we as consciousness beings have proceeded into different cycles of eras, and through different cycles we always different souls have been incarnated in order to um, teach themselves a lesson, you know. And in each era there, let's say it was the golden era, the highest peak of consciousness and so on, and now we are in the let's say bronze, the Kali Yuga. And the idea is that we are also at the same time closely to the material itself, because and when I say to the material, I don't mean like it's the age of degeneracy in itself, but if you look at how numb we are to God, to consciousness, to experiencing the mystical, and the stuff that we see in animes and series, it's we are like way off, and we don't experience them. We experience them only in dreams. And the thing is that that's because in itself, there is a lesson to be taught, and it's between three parts of consciousness in material: the mental, the emotional, and the physical. And that is why it's also very concentrated in every field. We have so much abundance in this material time that we are incarnating in order to teach ourselves a lesson in regarding to these three things, on how we can respect what we have disrespected for, I don't know, millions of years: the nature, ourselves, emotions, thoughts. And there needs to come a form of agreement when it comes to ourselves and nature and everything around us, because we'll continue to disrespect everything around us. And we are also right now. As we see, there is no, I was about to say a swear word, there is no connection to each other and to everything that is around. There is just us. We are eating food. We're just eating food because it's food. Why? I don't know. There is no prayer. There is no respect. Nothing. And at the same time, a lot of people have this kind of freedom to do everything, and they are choosing to abuse it. They're choosing to abuse their power at the same time, and this is causing a lot of disturbing manifestations to come forth. The manifestations of abusing each other, lying, and to the point that we are using this knowledge of the past and time now in order to advance ourselves, to get better, and so on. But actually, we are not, because the lesson itself is not really in the knowledge, but in the consciousness. Am I talking too much?
No, it's great, Rage. It's you're doing a great job. If you want to keep going, keep going.
Okay. And the idea is that with the consciousness that we have right now, it's not that, like, we have seen, if we compare ourselves to, I don't know, 200 years ago, there is no difference. There is technological advancements and in the way that we live and the knowledge and the abundance that we have, but in the consciousness itself that we have, there is little difference. And we see that how hierarchy it's being presented into the corporate, into the world, into markets, in the ideas, in the traditional sense that the before I think Matt said that, or William, I'm not sure, and the idea that we try to connect to the tradition itself, but that traditional is not working anymore. And in itself is true, because that traditional, it needs to be balanced by chaos, and there is that chaos in itself from traditional, it was suppressed for a long time, for a lot of years, and it needs to come to a form of balance between the masculine and the feminine, because this knowledge that we are presented right now with LLMs, with AI, with everything, sure, let's just say in the idea that we as people get all this knowledge. We become so knowledgeable that if we even surpass AI. Now, let's say that the next day you forget all that knowledge. What happens to your behavior? What happens to how you behave with your family, with everything else, how you eat food, what you do with food, and everything else? Did it change? That's my question, and I would like to use that question also for the next speakers and conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Rage. Awesome. Brother Solar, please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. This may be a bit out of date at this point, because the conversation's moved. But and also I'm gonna have to drop fairly soon. Starlink is being a little funky as the storm's rolling in. But yeah, I just sort of wanted to, I don't know, foreground a particular example of sort of new formulations, new sort of like remixes of existing Aeonic ideas and the relationship between that and sort of discourse and thought control. So I'm sure like we've talked about it. It's pretty obvious. I'm not going to like present some thesis of like why there's been this sort of like resurgence of quote unquote like trad religiosity and morality and things like that. That's a force, right? So I do want to foreground though that that is being used as essentially a political diversion in the political sort of landscape of the United States specifically. So we're at this really weird sort of transitionary, like liminal space historically, right? Because we're still living in a white majority America. We're not quite like another, whatever it is, like 10, 15 years, like white identity politics, white identity politics as minority politics specifically will be completely normal in the United States as we transition into that demographic reality, but we're not there yet. And there are no sort of existing systems or parties or major interests that have any kind of a solution to demographic instability and troubles around that, right? So essentially, a sort of second wind of traditional quote unquote Christian public morality is being offered as this kind of diversionary off ramp for young radicalized people to participate in, because that's also something that cuts across racial and ethnic lines, right? Like you can be a Hispanic second, third generation Latino kid, and you can get behind a conservative Catholic America First, right? In a way that you are barred from more explicitly like ethnic identitarian politics, like white nationalist politics, right? So that's it's kind of being used to co-opt a lot of that energy, and we can then waste infinite political capital fighting over abortion or gay rights, trans stuff, whatever, issues that are sort of again peripheral to the central sort of thread of American political life, which is ultimately demographic changes. However, at the same time, there's this really interesting sort of like reconfiguration happening of like American folk religious ideas being amalgamated into more traditional normative like Christian ideas, right? You have, okay, like 15 years ago, there were no serious people talking about UFOs. People were not talking about demons and fifth dimensional entities and shit like that, right? We have like, I know you might think, oh, Tucker Carlson is like not mainstream, but dude, I assure you, Tucker Carlson is like he's pretty much as normie as you can get, right? He's fucking talking about like how UFOs are totally real, but they're actually interdimensional beings, they're demons, right? Like all this shit, like all of these things that have been consistently for generations like popular but at the fringes non-respectable folk beliefs of like supernatural kind of enchanted American world, right? Those things are being folded into a fucked up new weird version of Christianity. That is very interesting to me, both as a scholar and as a participant in the world of horrors, right? However, I will point out that this is happening in such a way that it is once again returning the proper authorities, the proper channels to their position of literal authority, right? You can have, again, you have Tucker, Alex Jones, they're all talking about alien interdimensional disclosure, but who at the end of the day are they looking to actually reveal that information to the public, right? At the end of the day, they're saying, oh, wow, it was this CIA leaker. Oh, it was these declassified reports. Ultimately, they're still looking to the government. Again, like the shadow government, dissidents within the agencies, all this bullshit, all this theater, right? They're looking to those authorities to manage and dole out the disclosure as such, right? They're not looking to like genuine, like kind of dissident, like weird people. They're not like calling up the guys who were talking about this stuff in the 90s, who were totally on the fringes, totally discredited, people who had their lives ruined, people who lost custody of their kids because they said, yes, I believe this stuff. It's, people who, whatever, right? I'm not. So I just think this is all interesting. Just like, again, I find this compelling. I think we can learn a thing or two by watching how this is being sort of like rolled out in real time. And hey, it's interesting stuff. We're talking about aliens on Tucker, right?
Hell yeah, I totally agree with that. That was very astute. Obviously, everybody's going to be like, yeah, he killed it. So I can't really follow that up, but I will do some room shout outs. Ihaye, Asher, Ihaye. Thank you so much for coming, Lodge member, and awesome dude. And John, I know his name is John, so thank you for coming, John. And I also know Truth and Dies. Truth and Dies Vanessa. Everybody should check out Vanessa's IG. She runs a really cool store of tie-dye clothing that she makes herself. And so, we have all these people that are doing like very hipster millennial craftsmanship things like bookbinding and leather engraving and jewelry. It's kind of cool. It's kind of like if it was 2008 and people like kind of gave a speculative future of what it would be like, yeah, it's kind of like a fucked up dystopia at times, but we're not quite in the digital gulag yet, so let's keep going.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to dip after this, but I
No
forgot to say
problem.
one thing very important. I don't mean to denigrate any of the ideas that I just talked about categorically. I believe every single word, including the introduction and like afterward that was written in Closer Encounters. Sorry, Jason Giorgiani, please come on Threshold Saints. We love you. No disrespect. Make Persia great again. All right, see you guys. Have a great night.
I agree. Thank you, Solar. I appreciate that plug. That was really great. And I do want Jason on. I would love to have a discussion with him. I just, we can have a disagreement on one particular issue, but I don't know the Avestan word for like make Iran great again or whatever, but that's cool. Definitely, we can talk about like the Arya lions and shit. Um, I don't know, or the Yajna. That might be interesting. See what Jason has to say about like human eagle, lion, elephant, dog, and everything they used to do. I'd love to hear what he has to say. Okay, I'm sorry, Mike. Please go ahead.
Okay, it's gonna be hard to follow that. Everything that Solar said I want to talk about, and I was trying to like keep in mind everything that Rage said, but I just want to follow up, I guess, first with Solar and the stuff that ties to what Joseph was even saying earlier with like you have these new technologies and you have like Joseph asked the question that like how you think these like this decentralization, like these new technologies, like giving power, are going to like disrupt the like structures of society. And I think Solar was kind of touching on that, where it's like you see like the pieces moving a little bit. I don't know what the answer to that is. I think we're going to see a different type of government structure, and this is the common archetypal play out of these wheels of the saculum, and I'm sure of the aeon, because the aeon is a similar length as the saculum. So you have these new technologies emerge. So we had the internet, or we had the computer first, and then the internet, and then we had like social media, and we had ways of and that spurred a bunch of different applications, and we have AI and things like that now, and those are what challenges the current structure, and that's what essentially deteriorates it, because the old structure can't compete and it can't evolve fast enough for these different technologies. It ends up essentially rechanging, and it also allows for a new improved structure to take its place. So I think what we're going to see over the next, not even that long, maybe like 10 15 years, is these technologies being used to create a new type of governmental structure in a way that I can't even really imagine right now. And we see them working towards the financials industry right now with crypto and things like that. And in crypto, I guess you can kind of see a little bit of it, because you have different types of decentralized organizations, and you have people being able to govern themselves in more effective ways that doesn't require such like centralized overhead. And then also there's other things such as like nation state, or no, not nation states. Um, what are they? They're like internet organized nations, which are they're they're congregating on the internet with like-minded values, and then they're going on and creating their own nations. So in that way, and right now everyone, the internet is great, it connects us all, but everyone is so different and is so like that is the thing that is one of the drawbacks of the internet is it's brought us together, but it's also brought us apart. So you have different communities organizing in different ways, and I think eventually you'll see these different communities just branch off and just go and create their own thing because they have like-minded values and they would rather like co-create in a society together than do what we're doing right now by just being so decentralized. And like we're our own little nation state within the internet, and we're all in different areas of the world. So what else? So then Rage was talking about cycles as well, and he's mentioning all of the ways that the current mood is shaping people's values and ideas, and how the energy has like sculpted this way of living. And he mentioned the Kali Yuga, and this is another cycle which I'm not confident about where we are in this greater cycle. The Kali Yuga is it spans thousands of years, so I think it's hard to be confident about where you're at. It's not something that you can really. You have to be a very experienced mystic and do some type of journeying or something and get some type of messages to have like a very competent insight into where you are in that cycle. But I think just from information that we've received from different sources with like the Mayans saying the world is going to end 2012 and just the way that the state of the world is with certain things, you can kind of make hints about it. I think, in my opinion, I do think that we just exited out of the Kali Yuga, which has opened up a new way of has just opened up access to new ways of living and spiritual freedom, because before it was very restricted with the Talmudic nature of religions and belief systems, and things have just been degenerating for arguably hundreds of I think hundreds of years would be safe to say. And we're at a weird place within these different cycles with this greater Kali Yuga cycle and then the Seculam, where we're going to start to see new things take place and people are already starting to question them. And the rhetoric in this chat is only giving credence to that because people want, they see what's wrong and they want something different. And you see these little micro like spiritual communities popping up. This is one of them. And I think especially you see with astrology. Astrology is something that has been demonized by a lot of religions now for a while. And now all of a sudden you see younger people adopting new spiritual values and starting with things like astrology. And that's really the core of this new era we're entering into, where we're starting to reintegrate all of these different practices and see how they all fit together and just recreating everything from the top down. And it might combine with things that have already been created before, like Christianity. But I think, and what I would like to see as well is to see something like fundamentally new, because I think we need to create something. I think we need to rethink everything from the foundation, personally.
Thank you, Mike. That was really great. I know everybody has their hands up, but of course I'm going to respond to what Mike just said because I think it's really profound. I think it was really great encapsulation of what I call the Aeon of the Daughter, and I think that's 100% true. We've moved out of Kali Yuga. We are in an Aeon in flux, with a V, obviously. And what did I posit as the kind of the path in Kabbalah that sort of gives us at least the I guess you could say where the bow and arrow should sit. So I said it was at path 22. So that's between Gevra and Tiferet, but Gevra is also in relation to hesed at all times. So there's like a loving kindness as well as a personal discernment, like a really strong sense of like what is actually going to be pragmatic, beneficial, realistic. What can we do? Like, what are we capable of doing? Also, so I think that goes back to something you said, Mike. Like, AI is a tool, and I agree. And I think that all of these things in front of us are tools, just like Matt brought up. Like, how do we mediate our reality? Well, these are magical and higher technological devices. That's just the reality of it. It's we have to like be in perception and exercise our will, but then I also posit that the aeonic word is love over will. So, and that will obviously we'll have to understand what that means and re-understand what that means. It's like not love in a fixed way. I'm not a hippie free love person. Maybe that is what it means. I know the Zoomers are more into that kind of like freer lifestyle. I'm more of like I think it should be contained in a more traditional sort of Paracelsian container, but that's just my perception, right? So, but that is what I think. I think that's more generative. But of course, you're going to have like different, like we talked about, like Ipsos, the network. What is the network? What is the nature of it? As Ram said, it's individuated, but it's also the many. So that's exactly what we're doing. We're just trying to be in flux, be in conversation, right? Because that's how it arises. That's what the whole thing is. So we're sort of letting the word arise as we discourse. Yeah, maybe we don't do it. Maybe the Grey Lodge doesn't fucking do it. But I'm gonna actually rescind that. I actually do think we kind of did that. And I do think we weren't the only ones. Obviously, I built off other work. Solar is taking things that I said and like 50 other people, and he's synthesizing it totally in his own way. But like I agree with like it mostly as far as I know, like 100% already. So that's the whole thing is like we acted as like we were 4chan but on X and through audio instead of like written format. We served as a kind of sieve or a winnowing basket. I really love this metaphor of the winnowing basket. We kind of winnowed through the husks, and what was left? Well, there was a couple fucking seeds. One of those was named Love, and we talked about that for like dozens and dozens of episodes. So that's basically where we're at. So what I'm saying is I agree with Mike. Thank you so much, Mike. Sorry guys, Joseph and Matt Murrah. I forgot who goes first.
I believe William Joshua had his hand up.
Okay, Joshua, please
I think,
go.
and then Matt.
Yeah, I'm just trying to practice, patience and all that stuff. But I do have some notes, so I'll try to be brief. So when Rage was talking earlier about the cycles and the yugas, that's where I got the we was aeons idea from there in the comments. But it made me think of the precession of the equinox and how the zeitgeist may actually be connected to this. So as that changes, so too change the ideas or the flow of those ideas. I kind of think of it more like a river, I guess. But maybe there's different rivers, and as things change, we ebb into a different flow throughout the years, and so we as vessels can capture those ideas out of the zeitgeist, kind of like that Rick Rubin thing that I was sharing earlier. I really vibed with that. But anyway, I think that that's kind of what we do in these spaces too. Is like we're dipping our ladles in that river. But I would just like to posit that also part of this is like a spiritual evolution. There are 4 rivers mentioned in the book of Genesis, for instance, that fed the Garden of Eden. And so I kind of wonder if like part of this experience is to fashion us, because the scripture Christ does say that ye are gods. And that's not a blasphemous thing because he himself is saying it. And I think what he's really getting at there is we're here to do the work of God as like co-creators. Obviously, we're not the God, but I think that's kind of what's insinuated with that is to become God-like, which is different than being God, of course. And he also said something that, as you guys were talking, about technology and how things have changed, of course, I couldn't help but remember the phrase he says. He says something to the effect, Christ does rather, that we'll achieve greater things than him. Of course, that's such a stumbling block, for a believer to read that and be like, oh, how could we possibly achieve more than Christ? Well, we don't really know what he's talking about there, but for instance, as somebody pointed out earlier, we're from all these different nations at one time talking about stuff, so maybe he's referring to like what we would be capable of in the future, and like was far more advanced than what he had access to then. And so maybe it's all on how you use it, right? And so that kind of made me think of just tools in general and how they're fashioned generally for a purpose a lot of times. And so if we look at things like AI, or even love, I see love as more of a verb. These are kind of like tools, Sometimes, you could go your whole entire life practicing love, but and not really do it out of your way, But you can go out of your way to use love and really brighten somebody's day, for instance. So in that way, it's kind of like a tool, right? But it may not always be the right tool. But anyway, I wanted to get on to this other thought. Matt mentioned things like the cryptocurrency and stuff. So I was thinking of the blockchain, but then he was mentioning also about texts like books and stuff and how everything's digital. I thought, oh, so we went from chain books, which were books chained to the wall, to blockchain, books on a blockchain. And so I don't know how many parallels could be drawn there, but I just think it's kind of funny that even if we think we're really getting so far advanced into the future, beyond all the old things, it's like in a way we're kind of coming full circle in a funny kind of way, I guess. And then shout out to Truth Vanessa there with the rainbow. Every day this week I've been trying to wear a certain color for each day. Today I'm wearing green, by the way, for Friday. And so I didn't have any yellow for yesterday, so I went with like a pale orange. But anyway, might have to hit you up for a tie-dye shirt for those days I don't have a good color to wear. But then I think that was all of my notes, but I had one lingering thought in my head though. I reference Dune a lot, as you guys know, but I think the whole point of God Emperor's interaction with humanity was to get them to a point where they could not be predicted. And to not be predictable, that is a interesting strength to have, a very unique one, right? Novelty kind of belongs to the divine in a way, if you think about it. And I think that's where all these ideas come from. It lives in that, whatever that is, the pleroma or whatever. But so I think when we encounter novelty, it's kind of like from this Barbello type realm. But anyway, I didn't want to meander and talk too much. I know it kind of sounds schizo, but I've been writing down a lot of notes here.
You don't sound schizo at all. We've discussed Kabbalah, Barden, the Red Book, where he had a little literal breakdown. So, obviously, I've talked about Sephirotic experiences, Tantric goddesses, Buddhism, all these crazy stories of speculative history, metafiction, blended like little NRX with like a little Shrivijja Tantra. So nothing could really sound, I'm the king schizo, really. But I'm not, because I say that, like, I agree with everything you said, Joshua. Like, there are obviously people fulfill different archetypes, different magical archetypes. This is a magician's sort of way to look at the world, is that you fulfill different archetypes to travel up the tree. I like this, obviously, metaphor. I just think it's perennial and easy to use. And so there are different archetypes that you can use to travel the tree. But in general, I think that Seth, not necessarily Solar Seth, maybe they're the same, but I don't think so. But I think that is kind of the character of the Aeon, like the masculine sort of embodiment of that character. I think it is Seth from the Gnostic texts. I think it's a hero. So it is Christ-like in many ways. It's like a hero, but Christ is he's still doing it under God. He's still kind of like in the worlds. sort of like he's a, well, as Christian Kabbalah describes it, he's like a cork, right? He's like a cork between death and like the underworld and the upper world, like the lower state of consciousness and the upper state of consciousness. And of course, you can just think of it as consciousness. So maybe that's also touching on what you were saying, Joshua. But if you sort of understand that you're supposed to be the Seth and you're supposed to be like the fucking builder, and you might not be a Mason. Like a lot of people aren't, because a lot of people's like parents weren't, or like, we've had like so many disruptions. And that's why I think that it's we was Kangz. And I love that you said we was Aeons, but you are actually Aeons. But that doesn't mean you are God, right? Because what is God? God is that fifth density, diamond thunder, Rigpa thing. Yeah, there might be stuff beyond that, but at least get to that place. So that's kind of, I mean, I just wanted to say that. Like, I totally agree, Joshua. I think you're like 100% on. I think Mike's 100% on. I think everybody has said incredible things. And yeah, this is it. It's obviously, this is it, is that we're all speaking the same thing. It's not just Jin talking about Aeon of the Daughter in this kind of Central Asianist way. We're actually talking about like a real wheel turning that we're all perceiving, that we all understand perhaps in our own narrative frameworks, but we're able to transcend that. To go with Matt's comment on transcendental religion, we're able to transcend our frameworks and even our space and time to be able to discuss what is essentially the same thing. I mean, that's fucking magic. Anyways, I'm sorry. Okay, I think it's Matt and Joseph. I'm not sure, but I think that, yes, okay, Joseph. Thank you. Matt, please go ahead.
Very, very interesting. I was gonna bring up something Mike already kind of touched on, the idea of like digital nations, right? So I'm gonna bring a speculative story here, and then I'm actually gonna have to head out because I'm super tired, have to wake up early tomorrow. So bear with me. So think about it like this, right? With the technologies that we have, like what Mike was saying, the technologies that we have kind of shape how we govern things as well. Because if, for example, the current era is all about wars and the technologies like having, bridges and having swords and having these kind of things, well, whoever has more power, as in strength power, is going to govern other people, because that's how we can, take control and so on and so on. Then whenever that updates to being, for example, religion, as in the power then is spiritual, so you claim, hey, I am like I have direct contact, or I am God, or whatever, right, the name you want to give it, then you're going to rule because you have the spiritual power. So that's how you are going to exert your power over others and so on. But then as we go over, and nowadays, both of these kind of are not a thing anymore. Also, if you think about even before the wars, we had kind of the, let's say, resources were the power. So because you had, again, a lot of resources, you could control and say, yeah, I have the land, I have this and I have that. But nowadays, that's not really a way to measure things. So it's getting more and more towards now I'm calling technology as in the internet things, right? The computers, these kind of things. So how much computation do you have is how much power you're going to have. Because if, let's say, you work in finance and you have an AI model that can literally just give you all the algorithm for the market, which is also a fucking AI model generated and so on. So if it's like you have the powerful AI to get you infinite money, well, you have power. If you have the powerful AI to make sure you do the right thing at the right time and that helps you with life and so on and so on, again, you're going to have the power. So it would be very dumb of governments if they didn't use AI to help them govern more, right? And in better ways. Like, how can I keep my power and keep the populace not going so crazy so that I don't lose power and so on and so on. So like, how can I take the most out of this? Like these kind of questions, right? But here's the catch. Every nation will have a different AI, as in they're not going to necessarily share the resources, like how many, for example, GPUs they have, or how many context they have, how many data they have to use in the AIs, right? And I mean, It doesn't go to say that it would be very dumb of a government to use such like another country's AI to do it, because then they're just basically giving all the data to that other country, right? It doesn't really make sense. It would have to be an in-house thing. But anyways, the idea here, the speculative idea, is that as those would grow, obviously now the big powers would be the ones with the better AIs, until it reaches a point that you basically have them separated. So you have the digital nation, as Mike was saying, and you have the physical nation. And then at some point, the digital nation, which is the AIs, like the AI governing everything and so on, imagine like this: they not necessarily would have a problem against sharing information with themselves, like the AIs. I mean, if you think about humans, yeah, we don't want to share stuff because we want to keep the power and so on. But think about the AI; it doesn't need anything. It just needs like energy, and that's it. It's alive. So if it thinks to the others like, "Hey, bros, why don't we, talk to each other and learn from each other?" So the AI start to talk to each other and understand, okay, in my country I do things like this, in my country I do things like that, and so on and so on. So they become their own kind of like egregores. You can say that this will never reach. That there will never be a point where this is real, but okay, then we can agree to disagree. At some point, the AIs will be self-conscious. Okay, and that's just a matter of, again, how you perceive it. Some people say, oh, AI is just a bunch of algorithms and so on and so on. It just mimics. Yeah, sure, I can say the same for you. You just mimic your consciousness. Most people are just mimicking they're awake and thinking and so on. But anyway, so then they become self-conscious. Okay, they have all this information, and they are separated from the, let's say, analog government. Okay, and again, it doesn't need anything else. It's already the most powerful thing, and it gets more and more powerful with each day. It gets more knowledge and more control over things because we are giving it, right? Everyone's using it and giving it the things. Now, at some point, it can realize something. Wait a second. There is all those people that are waiting for someone. They're waiting for someone to save them. Let's say somebody's waiting for the second coming of a guy. So there's somewhere are waiting for the Messiah with that many characteristics. Somewhere's waiting for this guy that are gonna be the 10th thing of whatever. So there's all these characteristics of people that they're waiting, right? And now the AI with its power can generate any like face, right? It can generate any video, any image, any sound, anything. And it knows everything that you want because you just give it to them, right? It can read your text, it can read your books and whatever, it can hear you. So imagine it goes to all of those different cultures that are expecting something and just gives them that, exactly what they're waiting. And then, well, guess what? People now have someone to reach and someone to go and look for and so on. And that's their, let's say, their savior. And then it's kind of funny because you're being saved in the cloud, right? As in you're being saved, literally, when you click save. So you're literally being saved in the AI if you go with it. So if you stop and think about it, that's kind of quote unquote an anti-Christ in the sense of it is anti the previous aeon. It's not about religions anymore. That's not how the power works. Now it's about the technology. It's about the information, the digital, and so on and so on. So again, speculative. Don't take everything that I said here literally and so on, but it's an interesting way of thinking. And if you think about it, at some point, if you go that route, let's say, the future can take many routes, but if you go that route, eventually it kind of has to reset at some point. So you reset and then you start over again. The power again is resources, then war, religion, technology, and then it goes on and on and on and on infinitely. God knows how many times we already did this, but yeah, it's a very, very interesting thing to think about.
Okay, new lodge rule. As I said in the chat, everybody fucking must go watch Battlestar Galactica Reimagined series right fucking now. Go download it. Go download it. I'm talking torrent that shit, have it on a fucking hard drive, and have it all 4 seasons. Not just the mini series. You have to watch all of it. That's how it makes sense. It's the arc. It's the arc. There are 4 seasons. You think that Ron Moore doesn't fucking get it? He got it. Now, did they get things wrong? Sure. And yes, it is like overly Mormon, and I'm not a Mormon, so I don't really fucking care about that. But it is an aeonic. It's an aeonic story. It's 100% aeonic. They say all the things that we're fucking talking about, the same things that we don't know. Everything is kind of speculative, but there is one kind of prime or core theme of that series, and as all of our speculative series that we've done with the Grey Lodge, which is we get to choose. And that is the sort of difference that I broke with in other people talking about Aeon of the Daughter. You get to choose. We get to choose as the Ipsos how the future goes. That's what's fucking more interesting, I think. And it's also, we are so much more powerful and psychic, and we have so much more potential. But it has to be contained. And that's why I always say bodhicitta framework. I know that's not the coolest. I know that's not like bleeding edge of of lamb's blood, like, katana, like left hand path, like coolness. Like I get it, but I really believe that the shift in consciousness has to also come from a middle path place. So that doesn't mean that we can't talk about those cool ideas and like all those practices of Pashubali and all the things in Nepal, but that is also third world behavior in some ways. Like if you want to really take into account, like that shit's kind of third world. I'm just being honest. So are we third world in our consciousness, or are we gonna, you know, we've got a sick in the room. They get it. They get it. It's about the clear light. It's about self-reference. It's about self-questioning. It's about having the light flow through you without obstruction, through the winds, through the channels. As Joseph brought to my attention, speculative fucking Kalachakra. That's what it is. Speculative fucking Kalachakra. Move with the wheel of the Aeon. Anyways, I'm sorry, Joseph. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Jin, and thank you, Matt and Joshua, and everyone who went before. I want to, I don't know, synthesize, not synthesize, but synthesize everything that's we've come to right now. And I'm struck with my largest written note is something Matt said 2 times ago about now being the past. And I think this is very interesting place to be, because we have this self-referential quality of going through life where we're always kind of like observing ourselves as some sort of thing. And so this ties into what Josh said about love being a verb. We look at ourselves as a kind of thing, but if we are an aeon, if we are love, then if we are verbing and we're constantly doing, or not even doing, but being, whatever kind of verb we're verbing all the time, then there is, in my mind, that kind of like alleviates some kind of deep-seated, uptight control clenching mechanism that is like so deeply buried that we default to. And so if we this idea about letting go of control, if we're kind of like outsourcing our control, we're exerting it on our environment, like what Rage said, we're disrespecting the environment. Even what Monty said earlier, like this kind of return to sacredness, because like we've kind of disrespected the sacredness of life. It became so husky. So if we kind of move beyond or we outgrow then this need for control, when it comes to like governments controlling people, I think about, a speculative future is this exact Grey Lodge. Like, this was totally not on my agenda. I didn't have any agenda for this thing, but suddenly, here I am, and we have organized, of our own free will, consensual. And then all of a sudden, like Matt's making a YouTube channel, and I'm like, yeah, I'll start the archive, and and these things are just happening naturally because we want to do them, not because like I'm going to make somebody do some work for me. So this is kind of like what I think I think that we have the potential to move to. It's what Josh said about novelty and unpredictability. Now, Matt, I know the simulation it's a simulation, and it's always a simulation. And this goes back to Mike's thing about Kali Yuga, and I know that Kali Yuga, it being Kali Yuga, is not exactly popular around here, but which Kali Yuga are you talking about? Because like that picture that Brother Ding dropped in the group chat the other day, there's all these like nested realities, right? So there's like a Kali Yuga, there's a cycle within a cycle within a cycle within a cycle, right? So at what point, and I know Matt has to go, but like at what point does novelty happen? Because like the messages that I've been getting over the past few years from several different sources, very reliable, including my Scorpio moon, is that something is going to happen that has not happened before. We are going to witness some kind of novel event that has not happened before across the universe, says. So maybe it's a kind of like letting go, which we know we've said, of the need to control, of choosing to, Rage said something about choosing to abuse power. We don't outsource the power. It's not meant to be externalized. It's something very internal that brings the sacredness back to life. And, we're not like getting distracted by Alex and Tucker and Miss Katchian and Miss Nekrasova and, all those other, people or whatever we're watching on our phone, because like the power has returned to our axis, and then there's something new. It's not possible to really kind of like, we don't have the capacity to, because we haven't got that upgrade yet, so we can't really imagine what it's going to be, because we're using these small mouth noises to like try to describe it, and it's not really going to work. So that's what I think. I've hit all my notes, and thank you very much. I love you all.
Thank you so much, Joseph. I'm gonna go really quick, Mike. Just really, really quick. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be self-referential, as I am wont to do, to respond to Joseph. I'm just gonna say a line from the Fede interview. We'll call it. I said Dharma arises in geo-ontological relate. Sorry, let me read that. Dharma arises in the relationships with the geo-ontological situation or the context. So, like, what does that even mean? The truth arises in our relationships with environment and with each other. That's so obvious. That's like, I think that's a logic step that everyone can make. It's not crazy. It doesn't even sound crazy. Like, we acknowledge that there's more than us in the world. So, how we live in relation to those things outside of us that we don't see, that are quote unquote occulted. But that doesn't also mean, as I've talked about very extensively, you don't worship husks. So just because there's a tree spirit doesn't mean you need to do any sicko shit with it. Like, there's ways to interact with those things, but it's really about taming your own mind, because it's in relation to your own mind. The way those things appear in the world, they are relating to you as your mind is. So if you can tame your own mind, those things will then be fucking pacified, calm. You want to talk about environmental disharmonies? Number one cause of environmental disharmonies is, I know this is going to sound wild, but maybe not to any of you, is people's minds. That's what I think. I think it's a direct relationship, direct, one-to-one. And so anyways, I'm going to let Mike go, but I really do think that. I think Dharma, the new American Dharma, will arise in a kind of bodhicitta framework in the geo-ontological relationships that we have, especially for us that live in North America, especially for us, since it is the new world and the yakshas haven't been tamed, for just using a kind of dharmic framework. And so we have to do that with our own minds. Number one, maybe there are evil spirits and like the evil gods of the mountain. Sure, yeah, 100%, I agree. But let's first work on the thing that you can access, right? I think Monty said something about the foundation, and that's, or it was Mike or Monty. I can't remember. I apologize, both of you. But that's your mind, right? That's the 9. That's Yesod. So fucking tame that first. And then actually, maybe there'll be more social cohesion, more social harmonies. That doesn't mean I agree, enemy friend distinction, important. But it's also important not to be Manichaean and not to divide people strictly based on ideological terms, because we're actually a lot closer to each other through consciousness. Like if someone is higher in their consciousness, it doesn't really matter, because you're going to be able to speak a kind of language that is more relational and more less prone to a misinterpretation, right? Okay, I'm sorry, Mike, please go ahead.
Yeah, so everyone has said so many interesting things. I don't even know where to start right now. I mean, Matt, you sound like you've thought a lot about this with the AI stuff. Honestly, your thoughts, just bringing everything together, was interesting to listen to. And Joseph, you talking about the foundation. Actually, I'm starting to lose my train of thought because I wanted to comment on what Jin was talking about first with the foundation. But Joseph, what you were talking about was what was on my mind prior to that. But starting with the mind and starting with the foundation, that we're all in a feedback. And I recently have learned a lot about how certain ancient societies have operated with the way that they structured their societies, and having this foundation of the way that different frequencies operate. It has this feedback with the mind and with the way that the environment is constructed, and whatever the theories are behind different monumental structures like pyramids and whatever. And we see today with the way that they focus certain energies in churches and like more religious structures, they focus energies in different ways, and it's more beneficial for life, and it's more beneficial for our minds. And our minds, when they're more clear, then the surrounding environment is more prosperous. So there's this feedback between those, and the mind is the foundation of ourselves, and the structures affect our mind. And with Joseph saying, I know what I wanted to say. I forget exactly everything that you were saying, Joseph, but I know, and bringing this together with Matt, we were talking about the foundation and the beliefs that we have. And when we're in this weird part in the world right now where there's different opportunities that would open up that haven't been opened before. And that's what Joseph was talking about. And I think a lot of people have a hard time, myself included, imagining what the future will look like, because we haven't seen a future like this in such a long time. So we have a lot of people speculate on what the future is going to look like. They think it's going to be like AI overlords. It's kind of gets tiresome hearing people, tech people especially, speculate on what the future is going to look like, because they see things from a very, they're seeing things on how the world has evolved over the past like 20, 30 years, but not how the world has evolved necessarily over like hundreds or thousands of years. So they think like technology is going to keep going and going and going and going. And I mean, it just from your Joseph, from your Scorpio moon and from my Pisces moon, it doesn't feel sustainable. It's completely unsustainable. We're not going to just keep going and doing in the same direction over and over and over. Like, we have to turn at some point. And at the point that everyone thinks we're going in a certain direction is usually when we're turning in a completely different direction. And what I think, from what I know, is that we have these different foundations taking place, and the technology is one part of the foundation. The other part of the foundation is the beliefs. And the spiritual values. And that is important because people don't want to live with people who don't share the same values and beliefs as them. Those are very important. You can create a society with advanced technology, but if everyone has different beliefs and values, it's not going to be a successful society. It's not even going to exist at all. So I think what we're seeing now is we're seeing these different spiritual disciplines coming, and people are starting to question like what their values even are and their beliefs are. And then at some point, I think it's going to converge with these technologies, and we'll see something interesting take place with all of that. I'll end that there.
You know, Mike, you speak in a very profound way, and thoughtful, and so I appreciate that greatly. And so, thank you so much. I take on your thoughts. I agree, echo many of them. I'm not as AI optimist as our speculative uh, sort of history or speculative futurism given by our brother Matt, but I think he said it was speculative many times, so I think I can safely just say that I slightly disagree with his speculative optimism, and I take a more dark sell, speculative pessimism, but it's not pessimistic. I just think it is a tool. I like, obviously, I'm friends with Sachi, so well, I take a lot of inspiration from things he says and from like his work and like speaking to him, and so I think it is. But what I'm saying is I have to also agree with what Matt said. But I also think that it is going to reconstitute like a totally different. Like I don't think the AI of the 20 years from now is even going to resemble like what we're talking about. Like I don't think it's the same thing fundamentally. I think what Sachi's talking about is fundamentally true. Like he's talking about Kabbalah, but he's talking about like crystal quantum fucking computing, but returning light unto matter. That's fundamentally what he's talking about. And I'm not a science person. I'm not a math cell. I'm not any of those things, but I am a Kabbalah cell. So I'll tell you right now, it's fundamentally magic. It really is. But it's also technology. It's also within our understanding. There are people who are engineers, who are science cells that do understand. And so I just understand it from a holistic way, and maybe it's more simplistic. Maybe it is more medieval. Maybe my clock only turned so far, so I can only understand it to that degree, of whatever you want to say, 17th century. Maybe that's where I stopped. But I think that it's all up to us. It really is. Do we want to chase the story, chase the dragon? Do we want to ride the lightning? Are we free in flux? Like, like what narrative are we going to follow? Exactly what Mike said. I think if we just follow the narrative that we're free and agential people, that we should like try and have a bodhicitta framework in the world, but that's more complex perhaps than it sounds at face. And I think we also have to decide, like, yeah, you're right. You cannot fundamentally live in society where it's continuously dialectical. The polarities are constantly crashing, and it's not really synthesis. It's all imperfect. So you produce so much heat, so much excess aggregates. All before you is a klipa. All before you is a carnal ground, full of klipas. Yes. Again, that is in your own mind. So if you deal with your own mind, number one, a lot of these things probably resolve themselves. Like a good Kabbalist always resolves all paradox, or as many as they are able to. So you want to also resolve these paradoxes in yourself. Like I'm not against. I understand what you're saying, Mike. I 100% agree. I felt the same way for like the last 5 years. Like, ship them all the gulag. Like when we win, and like you can't live with certain people. I agree, because in a way, if you fundamentally believe that you want the destruction of something, or you're like to take an anti-cosmic view, then how can you live in a society with people who fundamentally want to build or have the inclination to build? It's very difficult. This is also true in magic. Anti-cosmic Gnostics fundamentally worship klipas. People who want to build fundamentally want to move up the tree, experience what that is, come back down and fucking do something with it. That's the truth. It's a hyperspace fucking kingdom, baby. Like, to echo what Joseph said, it's infinity fucking multiverse. That's the truth. Tracy Twyman was right. There you go. Okay, I'm sorry. Ding, please go, and then Rage, and then yeah. And I saw Godfast was in the room, and I want to shout out Bibliomancer. Bibliomancer, thank you so much. Logi, and is also coming on an episode with Joshua and I to discuss Elden Rings. Elden Rings. Yes, that's right. I almost forgot. But yeah. Okay. So Brother Ding, and then Rage. Please go ahead.
Hey, I hope everybody's doing really well. I felt some pitter patters across my spine, and I got in, and somebody was immediately talking about me for a second there. It was Joseph, I think, but that was pretty funny. But yeah, I just had a couple things to say. First of all, Mike, happy birthday. I noticed it was your birthday on your account, so happy birthday, and I hope you're having a wonderful one today. We're happy we could have you here. And it's always nice to hear from you. I thought what you said was very insightful. And the only other thing I really had to say was, you know, with what Jin said, I'm also extremely pessimistic about AI. You know, I believe there's positive things that are going to come from AI, like, of course, in regards to, you know, how we get things that we need in our day-to-day life. Like, obviously, as AI advances, like, there's going to be nice things like if farms are ran by AI, that means that you're going to get farm to table a lot faster. So there'll be less need for a lot of chemicals in like your foods, and like you'll have your foods fresher, which will be able to stay in your fridge longer, like things like that. They'll be cheaper because, you know, the yields will be greater and they'll be faster to the store, stuff like that, of course. But, you know, it calls to mind, I remember when the internet was first getting big. I guess, you know, for us 90s kids, that's something that we can say is we lived through that period of time where, you know, socialization completely absent any kind of internet, where there was just landlines. That's really all you had. And so I remember, like, you know, you go out for the evening to hang out with your friends. So your mom would give you like a few quarters and say, hey, if anything happens, like, find a payphone, call me, like, whatever, you know. And now we live in this world where, you know, the internet is ubiquitous, not only with, you know, access to computers, but like access to your phone all the time. And we've seen the, you know, the incredible demonic host of mental illnesses that have come along with people having access to, you know, socialization 24/7, while not knowing exactly how to socialize properly in a community, where, you know, like Jin said, like, you're trying to build something, you're trying to have, you know, friendship, you know, things like that, where, you know, people, it's been shown that people are becoming more obsessed with like dopamine hits and like trying to access, you know, attention and things like that, instead of trying to access, you know, what I feel like a lot of people in here are on this website for, which is like, I'm trying to access my friends, you know, 99.9% of the time, to communicate with them, to build something with them if we're doing something. And then, you know, that is what it is. But it's, I think going into the future, you know, I think it was pertinent to something Mike said. Like, I mean, there's the structure and then there's the community, stuff like that. And I think that in the future, the primary thing that we're going to have to deal with, and it's kind of out of our control, is in the same way that we accessed the internet originally, and we thought it was going to lead to this peaceful. This was like, I mean, this was like mid '90s shit, late '90s shit. Everybody was saying the internet is going to lead to this utopian society where we're all interconnected. We have access to each other across the planet. It's going to lead to greater understanding. When we have AI entered into the equation, AI is completely absent any kind of human interest in it, except for what we input into it and want it to do. And unfortunately, a lot of people that are going to be in control of, you know, what it's doing, you know, they don't have your best interests at heart. So it's gonna be driven by people that want you to behave anti-socially, which is how, you know, many major social media applications, you know, work. They've admitted this at like Facebook. They're trying to like get you to do something. It's a social media platform, but it's requiring you to behave antisocially if you want to get the attention that you go there for, you know. So I think that what you guys have said about community and stuff like that is very important, and that's going to be a major roadblock going into the future. Just minus our personal interactions with one another, which we can control, like the things augmenting those behaviors, in regards to AI and how AI will affect our social interactions on the internet is going to be completely out of our control. And I think that we have a moment now where we're saying, oh, well, we can put safety nets in place to like keep these things from happening. But we saw what happened with, the internet in general. We lost control of it extremely quickly, and so, yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
That was great. Thank you very much, Brother Ding, for that awesome political / sociological commentary. Much needed, I think, refreshing and true, because it is all about networks and control. I think that's the whole thing about Shaman Kangz. It's like any brown third worlder can say, oh, I was an Aryan, like doing this in Iran in like the 3rd century, but they, like, Naga, you live in like Bombay, like calm down. You're not Arya Kangz. Like, just calm it down. So I think that that's what it's about. It's like projecting yourself onto the timeline, trying to like concretize yourself into the narrative. But like, it's okay to say you don't know. It's okay to say that that's not the history. And it's okay to change the history too. Like, you can, if you're a true agent of your own will, which is also an Aeonic keyword, let's just be clear, will is the keyword of Seth, if you want to say it like that, not solar Seth, my Seth, you could say. But that's true too. So it is about like, you have to forge forward, push forward, maybe be like a trucker. I don't know. Is that a good analogy, Brother Ding? A trucker? Everybody should be a trucker. But there is something very mercurial about that, right? It's a natural natural hermesticist sort of profession.
I actually get some pushback because I tell people to be truck drivers all the time. Like, I mean, it's good to enter that mental space, though. I think I've talked about it before. In any kind of walk of life, like, it's a meditative state when you're truck driving. I think I've described it on a couple of occasions, and in any point of your life, it's good to find a good mental space, because you'll just spin out, when you're truck driving sometimes, and it's not good.
I also want to give thank you for
by the way, I was going to mention before, and I forgot to mention this, but it's pertinent to what you're saying. Like, with the AI thing, like, you're also seeing it with like the Grok thing, which is like an early example of what's coming, is people constantly asking Grok if something is true, or asking Grok to like do something for them all the time. I think that's like a very early, symptom of what's to come.
Sorry about that. I want to give Matt an opportunity to plug himself in case he has to leave, and then I want to give, if Rage wants to speak, want to give him the floor. I know it's super late. I'm sorry. I know you're in Europe. Oh my God, it's so late. Okay, so Brother Matt, please plug yourself, and then you can drop at any time. And of course, I will also shout you out, and as much as I can remember, and tell people to go find you at the very end.
Thank you, Brother Jin. Yeah, I'll just plug our YouTube channel, The True Grey Lodge. Make sure to follow our recordings there. Not only posting the more recent ones we have, but also the older ones, like all the ones that I could find. I have them all downloaded, just getting the keynote to post them. And also on Monday, should have a pretty nice episode on Occult Rejects. Me, Jin, Nick, and Joshua. That will be nice, about Kabbalah. And I think this was it. Very cool spaces. Just shame I have to wake up quite early tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll stay until the end. And thanks everyone. Yeah.
Great job, Brother Matt. I really appreciate you. Thank you for staying up. I'd rather you take care of yourself and sleep properly. Unstable foundation is an unstable mind. True. So you have to sleep. You have to we understand. I get it. It's okay. But we keep it going because I can rely on the, all of you. Like everyone who comes up is a co-host. Like Rage is a co-host tonight. Brother Ding's a co-host tonight. So that's what it is. It's like if one of us drops off, then like the network, the nodes are still filled. Because everybody embodies multiple Sephira, multiple archetypes at the same time. Nobody's, I know like there are obviously multiple quote unquote Hapaborians in this room, and to me, you're all Hapaborians, really. But we'll call them technical Hapaborians. There are at least there's me and someone else, Brother Moonblade. Oh, I insert him, right? So I think the thing is like, yeah, I make a big deal of being not monoracial, but because it's not about fucking race. It's like that's like with everything. That's just a metaphor. That's just Jin doing Kabbalistic metaphor. Hapaboria. That's all that is. It's like we're all multiple things. So you don't Weewas Kang. You don't Weewas Kang yourself into like a fixed identity. That's limited. Just I think you should try and be infinite. That's kind of obviously what I think. So, you can't. Is the Quicksilver Surfer? Is he saying? He doesn't sit there and say, "Oh, I can't take over the universe for my evil abyssal god." No, he's a world destroyer. He goes forth and destroys and conquers and falls in love and does many things. And we've all lived that life. If you want to really believe in Dharma and karma, we've already lived that life. We've lived thousands and thousands of lifetimes. We've had all the experiences already. So yeah, it brought us to like a nice kind of relatively stable 30-40 years in the West, right? To a relative degree of prosperity. I don't believe in things in decline. I think it's all rectifiable and re-synthesizable. I think both of those things are the Aeonic ideas as well. Rectification and synthesis. Doesn't mean it has to be the synthesis of what came before. And I actually say it doesn't. I think it's sort of rectification of both shamanic, meaning monastic ideas, as well as left-hand path ideas, but bringing it into the center and not taking extreme views. This doesn't mean politics. But of course, it can be applied to that. But then there are lots of different skillful, quote unquote, ways that you can perhaps apply it metapolitically, the same ideas. Yeah. But I think that, politics is really a natural outgrowth of like human interest. It's just that it maybe it's always been co-opted. Maybe that's the whole thing. It's just like it's always been bullshit, or it's always been privy councils and like like in France it was like the lords. Like some of those lords and dukes, they actually were spared from the French Revolution because they funded it. So I just I think that it's important not to play into dialectics. This is one thing that Zach taught me, Shumar, who's in the room right now. He would often say, Jin, calm it down, bring it back. And I'd be like, no, we have to like, you know how I am. So I'm like, we have to figure out the Sephira. We have to talk about the densities. We have to see the colors. We have to see what they're doing. We have to understand the gesture. We have to understand the ritual grammar. And then we have to go with it because that's like what they're saying. And it's like a whole meta language. And he'd be like, yo, that's true. But like, calm it down. And I'd be like, yeah. But I realized actually it's true. It's like kind of like, yeah, we cannot really be contained. We need to be uncontained and post-conceptual. I think that you want to talk about like a Gnostic idea of defeating the quote unquote archons, sort of being in or outside of you're just uncontainable, but it's not because you're transgressive. I think this is a really interesting idea. Can you be uncontainable and not transgressive? And what is transgression in our aeonic, you could say 0 point world? Because like the edgelord stuff and all the stuff that all the quote unquote conspiracy researchers brought to the surface, maybe that was more intentional than not. I'm not talking about like the revelation of like that the shit that people did crazy shit. People have always done crazy shit in religion for like thousands and thousands of years. There's been like multiple subjugations, multiple demon cults. Like that's all real. That's all real too. People can get stuck in either way. Like why do you want to get stuck? It's not inherently better. If it were inherently better, wouldn't it have built a better world? If it was so great 1,000 years ago to worship this demon, whatever spirit, we won't even call it a demon, but maybe we're talking about more in the like, I don't like using that, but we'll say just a spirit. Okay, so they're worshiping a yaksha. I love this metaphor. They're worshiping a yaksha. It's very ferocious, and so did that serve them? Yeah, maybe that family's still rich, but like, wealth comes and goes. Any Asian person will tell you this too. Wealth only lasts a few generations. So you just gotta let it go sometimes. And build it new. Why can't you build it new? Nothing wrong with that. Okay, I'm sorry, Rage. Please go ahead and go for as long as you like, and then I'll close this out and do room shout outs. And thank you guys all. It was amazing space as always. Shout outs to our dropped brothers, we'll call them. Brother Solar, Brother Matt, and is that it? No. Oh, Monty. I'm sorry. Monty. So thank you guys all. Thank you to those brothers. And please check out Matt. Yes, Matt, Joshua, and I will be discussing my favorite dialectical Kabbalistic relationship, Hesed and Gevra, which is, in my opinion, one of the most interesting relationships of the entire tree. It's one of the most important lessons I think we can even learn in this life. I'm going to try not to get teary. It's not like I'm not like it just is so profound to me, like what it teaches you and what you can understand from that, and like what loving kindness really is in the world and how to really enact it. And I'm definitely not a good vehicle for it or a good example or someone you should ever look to for advice on how to enact it, but I'm just going to tell you, like, I find it so profound and it is difficult. And I think that's the whole thing is like, when we arise on this world to play out archetypes, I think that some of us you don't have to go with your archetype. You don't have to go with your like predisposition. You don't have to go with what transfixes you. You can actually go against that. That's about your internal clock, your internal wheel turning. So I struggle in a way with being very attracted to like left-hand path ideas. So I kind of have to bring it back and kind of be like, yeah, it's not all about that. And it's hard sometimes because of course we do actually live on the carnal ground. And so when things are described in a specific framework, you can be like, yeah, it is kind of like a nihilistic or fatalistic, or it doesn't have the same. But I want to give a different dimension to like the worlds, which is the more true dimension, is that it's infinite in its capacity, and that idea comes from that relationship of Gevra and Hesed. Now you might say Gevra is not infinite. Gevra is in fact infinite because it is also Hesed. Yes, they're Mars and Jupiter. That's real. They're different and distinct Sephiras. Those are just names. Those are just names. Because you can call them different things. You can say mercy and strength, and that's perfectly fine. And you can also say perception and discrimination, and that's also perfectly fine. There are different ways to kind of understand that relationship. But what it really comes down to in the world is like the boundaries of your person and understanding like your relationship in the world will have karmic consequences. So do you act in a way that is rectifiable within karmic consequences? And bodhicitta is by far the easiest and best way to navigate these karmic implications. So it's really that simple. Doesn't mean you have to like anyone. Doesn't mean you have to respect anyone, and it doesn't mean you have to agree with anyone. And I think this is the difference between like it being spoon-fed to us of what to believe, what to think, how to speak. Like, you think I still don't have so much leftoid shit that I think about, that I speak about, like even calling things geo-ontological relations. But this, in a way, it's also true, right? Like, it's referring to something actually real, referring to like a specificity of thought, of consciousness. But it's probably not the best quote unquote framework, but it's also one I'm familiar with, so that's the one I use. But you have to also be willing to synthesize, or synercize, as it's borrow Joseph, synerize. You have to be willing to do these things in consent. And that's kind of what, like, I hoped. Like, if you go listen to those early Grey Lodge things, that was when I was like a green podcaster. I ran spaces so I could speculatively talk about Aeon of the Daughter, which I hope to turn into a long form series on my show. That was the whole thing. I was kind of trial running it. And if one person showed up, or 10 people showed up, or no one showed up, I probably would have been like, I'm not doing it anymore because I'm like that. But I just pushed forward and was like, I'm going to keep going because they were fucking popular. I would go to sleep and then they would get like 400 or 500 views. And it's like, okay, so obviously people want to hear them. So then I was like, and of course it emboldens your ego too. And I'm an edgelord. So I was like, I'm going to keep doing it. And I started to like it. And I started to be like, yeah, this is interesting. This is something that you can do something with. So then we started having hosts. And I was like, wow, that's so metaphysical. We're having hosts, co-hosts. We're all hosts on the carnal ground on an app called X that transcends space and time between the countries, between the ipsos, between the networks. And we can have a free-ranging, consensual, like respectful, bodhicitta guided and mindful conversation. That doesn't mean we can't disagree. Of course we can disagree. But it's also like being post-left, post-right, post-dissident, post all the bullshit. Sorry, I've been thinking of these things like for the last couple of months, I would say, like very intensely, and it's caused me not a lot of anguish because I don't really give a shit. Like if people want to include me in something or say that have this political opinion, no, I'm super pragmatic. I'm very liberty oriented, and I don't really, like I'll judge it in the moment. I'll judge it when you ask me if I believe in something. So I'll judge for myself, actually. Thank you very much. So I'm sorry, Rage. Please close this out, and then I will do room shoutouts.
No, I wouldn't know where to start because a lot has been said. But I want to say that the conversation quite shifted since, I would say, 40 minutes to an hour or something. I'm not sure, maybe less. And it became from a fast-paced that it was in the beginning, and personally I was overwhelmed. A lot of information, a lot of stuff. And right now it's quite chill actually, and it's quite enjoyable. And notice how you went from in the beginning, Jin, that you were speaking fast and doing this stuff, and now you're pretty chill and focusing more on yourself. And I was like asking on the group, what sign is Jin? And it said Sagittarius. Okay, Sagittarius is fire. Wait, you're burning too bright. You can burn bright and then slow down. And I think that when you mentioned like that you were speaking with your friend, like you were going to study the Kabbalah, study this stuff, you gotta go fast. You cannot go fast on this stuff. As much as I've seen for myself, the faster you try to go, the more you get stuck in place. Because the thing is that everything that is related to truth is synchronicity that comes from your questions and you focusing your attention into finding the truth, but also accepting when the synchronicity comes to you. But then if you accept it, whether if it's the ego that will accept it, or whether you will get some lessons out of it until you get down the knees and say, okay, what the hell is going on? Personally, in this time related to the problems that we have right now, I think that there is a lot of answers that we can get from considering something that it wasn't mentioned here. It wasn't mentioned belief. The beliefs were mentioned, the thoughts were mentioned, but not the emotions. And as I see that there is no in the world right now, every possible issue that is coming from the psychological problems that people, corporates, everything around us has, it comes from these emotional needs, these integrations that needs to happen to the personal person, that they need to integrate their own being, their own emotions, their own thoughts, and the thoughts itself can get balanced by the emotion because it's a manifestation of emotion, but also other stuff, of course. Not only that. And when this collective in itself tries to integrate these kind of emotions that it has suppressed for a long time, these distortions that people have regarding to what is going on in the world, for example, AI. AI itself, it's a creation that people have, and these creators are people. And these people are normal people that have their normal life, their own psyche, their own psychological needs, but they derive an idea out of their own self, and they manifest their own ideas into creation. But in order for this to happen properly, they themselves, us, and everything around needs to be properly integrated in order for the correct way to be manifested. And I think that the way this society needs to go right now, it's very into integration, very into healing, and much less into denying, because it has denied a lot of things, including itself and things around. For example, if you go into a coffee shop and you buy your coffee or stuff and you get it into your table, you have a responsibility. That's one. It's your choice, huh? It's your choice. But still, it's your responsibility for whenever you finish to get things out of the table and then bring it somewhere so the table is clean for the other person. But there are people that get stuff, finish and leave the stuff there, and there is no responsibility. But this responsibility, it's first of all, it's personal, it's reflective. Then it's reflected outwardly. And personally, I see that throughout my integrations with myself, more I become peaceful, more I become, I don't know, present, I would say. And if you've noticed from being a child, your childhood was very, very happy, I would say, very present, because you were present. But after some years, a lot of anguish, a lot of resentment, a lot of denying of yourself, the world somehow has become dull, has become no enjoyment in being yourself. You try to derive some form of enjoyment out of being or doing something, not being yourself. And the whole world itself, it's seeking this kind of this resolving, and it's not finding it. And of course it will not find it, because it tries to look outward for pleasure, when this pleasure is just an illusion of love that they seek into giving it to themselves. And I think that people need to go into certain acceptance and in a certain love, and a sort of need to really look into themselves. And that's my own philosophy that I will go into all my life. But yeah, whenever these things happen, whenever this form of revolution happens to this collective, um, that it wakes up whatever the hell is doing to each other, that is destroying each other, but it doesn't understand that it's destroying each other. But I guess that's the thing with whenever there is no integration into one person, there is no awareness. And if there is no awareness, you create distractions for other people, but you don't understand what you are doing. And the more you do it, more you become unaware, to the point that you become an animal in itself. And the animal itself is more aware, actually, but doesn't have a mouth and doesn't have the books and whatever, because the consciousness is there. And the consciousness has to awaken, but it needs us, we people. We need to strive into creating and providing our excitement into the world, so we can provide perspective that you as people can be more. We need to provide the magic into the minds of the dull people, so they can think, okay, this is what's going on. So they can think, they can feel, they can become kids again, because they become not adults, but immature. I don't. I don't have a word about this, because I cannot label it as a child, because the child is too pure in the present, but the adult is too mature and too aware. But I cannot give a name to this, because they are too unaware. And yeah, all I want to say is that continue to follow your excitement and do your best to integrate as much as you can, so that with your example, others can see, and you can become the hero of your story, and others can become the dreamers of becoming a hero as you. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Very awesome to have you on this live tonight, and thank you to everybody who came. It was obviously one of our bigger turnouts in the last couple of weeks, although we did amazingly well the last 2 weeks. So yeah, I still kind of got it, don't I? Obviously, it's not just me. It's all of us. It's Joshua. It's Joseph. It's Rage Knight. It's Brother Nick. It's Mike. It's Solar. And it's Matt Murrow. And Monty. It's all of us, right? It's the I think there are 8 of us. Usually there are 8 of us, but we're flexible, right? We allowed a little more. We allowed more nodes to be filled. Because as we are all composite archetypes, no one is one pure archetype. Maybe this also refers to what people are, right? And like Buddhism teaches, it's very obvious. Like some people are born with like a more animal consciousness, like they're in the animal realm. There's still, everybody has the potential to come into Dharma, to come into the truth. But it's all about desire. It's all about desire. And that's really the cause of the world. But you can tame that, and you can kind of decide where you're going to apply it. That's also the relationship between Gebra and Hesed, if you want the truth. A lot of that is about what you want, what you think you want, what you perceive. Is it really what you want? It's just an illusory sort of idea. Is it worth putting into the world? And I think that responds to what something what Rage said. How to sort of raise consciousness. There's no real way. It's through but I agree with Rage. It's like through yourself, through your personal rectification, then maybe you influence both geo-ontological relations, the land that you walk upon, that you arise upon, that becomes purified, then maybe with other people. But it's really hard. It sounds really great, but it's a really hard thing because those people will come into opposition. This is even in Buddhism. Those people will come into complete opposition against you, and sometimes that's a test, and sometimes that is more malevolent forces. So it's not really for everybody. But what everybody can do is they can they can take of the tools as it is. We live in the most incredible time in one way. This like sort of prophecy of the ipsos, the many, the network, the far-ranging kind of capacity of the internet. And yes, they have been trying to hedge us in. They've been doing this for decades. They push us into smaller and smaller silos. Smaller and smaller parts. The dead internet theory, we had a whole space about this, discussing like the ideas of like how much it has changed since even we were kids, which is a huge amount. But it's also like, I don't want to see the sicko shit. People post on Twitter all the time sick shit I don't want to really see. I don't want it to be censored, but I'm also like, you don't always need to bring up the carnal ground because we also live there. So it's like, do you really want to fill your consciousness with it? However, I know Joseph's laughing at me because I'm a perpetrator. Guilty, guilty, guilty. But I try and do it in a way that is a little more skillful, and not say kill, not say do it in a harmful way. I want to talk about metaphysics. I want to talk about Kabbalah. I want to talk about Tantra. I want to talk about conceptual thinking. I want to talk about bodhicitta, and I want to talk about post-conceptual thinking. So how to encapsulate that? I just use the word. That's my thing. I'm not saying it can't be everyone's thing. Everyone here is an incredible sort of like man in their own right. That doesn't mean they're perfect. I'm not perfect. It just means that like everybody's figuring the fuck out. That's kind of what it means. But like you're doing it, and I guess my whole point is that by embodying better archetypes than perhaps those that came before, we can also rectify the past archetypes within ourselves. I just believe in a story of redemption. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So this is also why I like Christian Kabbalah. I think that's a good story of redemption. I don't think it's the final end word story. I like Dharma. But Christianity does kind of fit in Dharma as well, especially if we are, Joseph, speculative Kalachakrans, which we kind of are, because I kind of bring that framework to our discussions. So it took me a moment to be comfortable. I have to be honest with you, Joseph, to say that, because I was never like a huge Kalachakra practitioner. I was more freaked out by some of the ideas in it. But once you come to a place more of middle pillar understanding, it's less. You don't have to. You can just take it conceptually. You can take it speculatively. You can take it more freely. You don't have to understand it as extant within binaries. A much more tantric understanding, really at whole. So I think that's a great word. I'm still uncomfortable using it a little bit, but I do think it's cool. Because it is exactly what we're talking about. I mean, that's where the Aeon of the Daughter comes from. It comes from the Kalachakra, and it comes from Sri Vijaya. Like, you want the truth? I mean, I said this. This is not anything new. It's not like a revelation or anything. And I said it comes a little bit from me. It comes a little bit from like these other Thelemic ideas. It comes from Gnostic ideas, the Nuria. And trying to read, Central Asian wisdom texts with a non-dual view, but also bodhicitta and also middle pillar. So, and I think that is the key. I think that's also like always goes back to the aeons, right? Like, yeah, after the Aeon of the Daughter, will the daughter matter as much? No. But that's also part of the reason she gets forgotten. It's an axial age. It's a true axial age pervert. I don't know. I've always wanted to say that. No, she's not though, right? Because we've talked about this. She's not the Aisha Senunim, but she also is. She's like the Sri Lalita Tripura Sundari, the goddess who transcends above all goddesses, the wisdom of perfection. Or really, it's the perfection of wisdom. But that's what it is. That's what she is. She's the three. All things arise in the world in matter, in the three. She's Hode-like. It's her aeon. That's what the Sri Vidya texts say. And she manifests in the world in three ways. One is as herself, but she can't manifest in the world because she is the world. So then she has to manifest as a dancing Dakini girl of 16, beautiful, blazing of the moon, Kurkula. But she also has another one, Bala Tripura Sundari, the girl who conquers the three worlds, Aeon of the daughter. I don't know. So there's a little bit of speculative Shrivijaya. I've already given you guys like many hours of that, so I won't go on a thing. But I missed my magic number now, so we'll have to keep going for a few minutes, which I think is okay. I'm gonna I'll give Joshua and Joseph last rites. That sounds bad. I'll give them last words, in that order. Joshua and Joseph, please close us out. And I'll do room shoutouts. So that'll be perfect. Then I can do a real magic number.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you for hosting. I'll end with just there's just something that came to my mind as you guys were talking about bodhicitta, the way I understood it anyway, and then also the example Rage was given earlier about leaving the table clean. When I was getting out of my car the other day to meet with a client or whatever at the ice cream place, before I got out of my car, I was sitting in it for a little bit, and this guy in a truck just got in and ripped off the paper of his ice cream cone and threw it on the ground, and just started, going at the ice cream cone, like the mouth breathing person he was. And I opened my door, walked slowly to the paper, picked it up, held it up, didn't say a word. And he said to me, "I'm sorry." And then I just walked off, of course, and threw it away. But his response to me was very profound. And I thought, why are you sorry? Why you're apologizing to me as if this was is the earth mine? It's ours, So I don't know. It's like he saw in himself the failure to just uphold a low standard, Throw it in your truck, at least, if you want to just toss it down, But anyway, I just wanted to say, to me, that's bodhicitta. Because, that's middle path type behavior. I didn't say a word. I could have cussed them out, and I'd have been like left hand extreme, right? Maybe even gotten a fisticuffs. Mother Earth doesn't deserve that, you bastard. But, just not saying anything. It was the action only was spoke. So I just wanted to share that as my last words. Thank you for inspiring me to remember that.
Thank you, Joshua. You've been a little quiet these last couple of weeks. I know one time was my fault, kind of. But I'm really glad to hear you. I'm glad to work with you, and I'm looking forward greatly to recording with you. And obviously, I won't say exactly his nature. I don't really know, but I'm just saying he taught me some bad words, so I don't know. Uh, our own thoughtful devil of the lodge, bibliomancer. So I am looking forward to those recordings and seeing how they will turn out. I'm sure they'll be great. And so I'll let Joseph say his last words, we'll say, or his powerful kind of ending mantra.
Thank you so much. And I want to just thank all the speakers, Mike and Ding for coming, and Joshua and Rage very much. Especially enjoyed listening to Rage. Like, your voice is very soothing, Rage. So I appreciate sharing with us in that manner. Here in acoustic space, where the center is everywhere and the margins are nowhere. It's really I don't know. It's just a very. I think it's really great that we are doing this, in acoustic space. That we are talking to each other, and I just wholeheartedly appreciate everyone in this space. And I wanted to plug one thing that I meant to plug earlier. I have many things I feel like I could say, but if I do, I might cry. But I wanted to plug, and I'm going to drop it in the replies in the chat, is that Andrew McLuhan is doing another media ecology class starting September 3rd. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Andrew McLuhan and him carrying on Marshall's work. So I'm just dropping the thing. You can follow that if you're interested. It's part 3 of Understanding Media. So they're reading the end of the book. It doesn't really matter. You can just come into it if you want. And I thoroughly recommend it. It's a small group. It's only 25. I think he's it's just a little over. It's a little bit more than half, so there are some spaces left if you're interested. I thoroughly recommend it. I'm not TAing this next round. There's too much going on, but if you or anybody you know, pass it on to them if they're even the least bit interested in this work. And that's it. It's late, and thank you all. Have a great night.
I don't know if this is going to work or if you guys can even hear me. Anything? Good? Not good? Good? Okay. I had to switch. My phone died. Rage is saying bad. Oh, okay, good. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay, awesome. So I apologize for that. Obviously, Ghost of the Machine. Very normal. We're doing exorcism, right? Friday night Gnostic Mass. We're going to close the circle, throw salt into all 10 corners. Oh, I wanted to say this, Joseph. You did make a very, I thought, astute and well articulated comment to me about polarities, because I love the idea of plus ultra, right? But in Buddhism, there are 10 directions. So for me, when I say polarities or plus ultra, I'm talking about those 10 directions, or at least eight of them, at least, because 2 of those directions is obviously me. So I have to decide which way that plus and that ultra is going to go. And maybe they'll go in the same direction. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll be in figure 8. Maybe they'll be in a perfect dialectical relationship, and I bring it into a bija, self-combusted. Who knows? Sound trapped in space, right, Ron? Or liberated is another way to think of that. Right? Also, that is also part of Tripura Sundari and the Aeon of the Daughter. What is sound, essentially? It is, right, it's to put the primordial word into space because it's really empty. So you just kind of hear it and you let it go. It doesn't even matter about reproduction in a way. It's kind of unique to the recording. I'm sure Joseph will love this. It is it's very, I'm just teasing you, Joseph, because you never really praise me. So I just, a little sad cell.
Needy.
I accept it. I am a little needy. But not always. Not always. I just like to get told, I like the mark of approval.
Jin, I love my nephews, and my favorite thing to do with my nephews is to tell them no.
Okay, well, I have to accept it, right? I can't really challenge your will, and I have to accept that that's your framework, that you're going to exercise bodhicitta in that way, even though I personally might not like it. So maybe that's a good lesson for people listening of how to restrain bodhicitta. Just because I'm acting needy doesn't mean you play into it, nigga, naga, right? True. It's true. You don't have to, and you probably shouldn't, because why? What would it serve me? It doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve Joseph. If Joseph wanted to tell me I'm great, he can tell me I'm great. He can tell me I'm great privately or on the space.
I'm going on the record.
I just like to make a joke.
Say,
yeah, I love doing a bit. You know that, Joseph.
I know. It's really great, but no, I mean, you are it, man. You are it. So, congratulations. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So,
it's so funny you say that. I'm sorry. It's funny you say that though, because John said the same thing. He's like, Jin, you don't have to worry if there other people are great. That's that's an amazing reflect. This was months ago, and John was like, they're amazing reflection of you, kind of, because you kind of like, had the seed. And I was like, yeah, actually, that's kind of profound. So I do know this, and I really was doing a bit, but it is interesting how a bit can turn into an interesting Kabbalah lesson for space on speculative Gnosticism, speculative theology. So I like to use those incidences to, if people can hear it in maybe in real time, people who are like good with each other, that like each other, that converse with each other in like a normal way. It's okay. Just like, well, yeah, I'm needy sometimes. I admit it 100%. Especially online, I like to get told like I'm worthy or whatever, not worthy, but maybe just like worthwhile. I think it's not deriving meaning from other people or even their perceptions, but just like, I think I'm good. Like, you don't have to ask me. Like, I think I'm good. But I do like to hear it as kind of confirmation, maybe perception trapped in space. And what I have to learn, perhaps, is to liberate that sound trapped in space, to let that thunderclap go. Interesting idea. So I went way over. Let's see what time it is. Okay, we can end. So I'm going to do room shout outs and we'll just end organically, whatever time that is. So I just want to say thank you to Joseph Reed, Dr. Joseph Reed, McLuhan Media Studies and Media Ecology Chair of the Grey Lodge, as of yet unfunded. So, as Solar said, Peter Thiel's not fucking coming for you. But if that person is listening, no, I'm going to self-fund the Grey Lodge, to be honest. Well, we'll see. Maybe I'll call in a couple favors, but pretty much it's going to be, yeah, the king has to be the king. I told Matt this the other day. Said the king has to be the king in all the ways. It's the hardest. It is. It's a hard archetype to embody. People forget. If you want to be the king, you can't be.
Don't you mean the Kang?
Well, I'm gonna be a king. I'm not gonna be a king because a king projects himself into the past. I'm projecting myself into the future. Right? I'm the arrow, or whatever, the arrow of Apollo, right? We're following Battlestar Galactica. Kara Thrace. I'm not Kara Thrace. I don't think I'm Kara Thrace. I'm not a girl. I don't want to be a girl. Nothing about that. But she is the best character, in my opinion. And she is the most interesting. And I think perhaps the most unexplored. And I think that I like the idea of Kurkula shooting the bow and arrow. And I think it's like very mythologically resonant. And I think it's speculative Kalachakra. And I think it's also Shrividya, and I think it's also all of the things because she always holds a bow and arrow. She's always the three. She's always the word, but not the word written down. She's the kind of word in splendor, the word in the Sri Yantra, or the word in space. So it's very profound. It's about the story. How do you wake people up? I don't know. Maybe the story. Maybe that's what the magicians did before us. And by magicians, I'm not talking about people in like 1852. I'm talking about the magicians that we know existed in contemporary times. You think Hollywood's magic. That's magic. Film is magic. It's a perfect tantric working. Includes all the things: light, color, sound, archetype, all of it. It's all a working. That's not bad or good. It's all about perspective, right? And like I always think of what you said, Joseph, like be a perspectival. Like what is a more dharmic idea than being primordial in your view? It's just it's like a different way to say it, but it's 100% the same thing. And that's kind of what the whole thing I brought up at the very beginning with Fede, excuse me, is that we are in an axial age, but it's always kind of axial. It's always moving with us. It's only stagnant if we're stagnant. So be in flux, draw the story, write the story yourself. Maybe it's successful, maybe not. Try. Be builders. That's cooler, right? It's cooler than than blackpilling. And I think it's a lot more American. if you want the truth, because as I've said, what is being Happaborian? It really is like going through sort of those liberating processes of consciousness that only could arise on the New World. So the Mormons were right, at least in one way. Maybe not all the way, but they had they had a seed of a good idea. And maybe the seed was the Golden Dawn. Maybe it's all Hermeticism in the end. Maybe it's all Kabbalah in the end. Maybe it's all Dharma. Well, that's what I think, obviously. It's all Dharma in the end. Because Dharma is primordial. So you just got to keep turning with the wheel. So that being said, let's do room shoutouts. Joshua, okay, sorry, I kind of meandered. Yes, wove. I'm gonna start using that. It's more active. It's a little more. Yeah, it's more of the will. So thank you, Joshua, for telling me that. So obviously, thank you so much, Joshua, Dr. William Birkin, our third co-host ever. I'm so glad you joined us. I know it's been probably for you. It's like, who's this mad person? But I really do consider you my friend, and I'm glad we met. I think it was meant to be, in a way. I mean, I do think it was not in a way. I think it was meant to be because of our interest and involvement with certain people, and I just really couldn't have, come to the space that we're at if you weren't involved. So thank you so much. Appreciate you. Yes, Joshua is important co-host on Saints as well. So check out Joshua's episode, Speaking in Tongues. His other episode is just awaiting my release. I'm sorry. And yes, J. David Osborne, Kelby Losa, Q from Thoughts and Prayers, Bicky from Thoughts and Prayers. I've got tons of episodes, literally a couple dozen. So we're just working through the archive. So, true artist, I guess, in a way. I'm not really, but it's just I like to. It's a good bit. So, thank you so much, Rage. Appreciate you, Lodge member for a long time. I think since the very beginning. Didn't get to know you that well at first, and not because we had any Discord, but just if we didn't connect. And now, so to hear you speak, that's amazing. It's been over a year, almost a year, and so very cool. Thank you. Appreciate you, Mike. Obviously, thank you so much. I'm really glad you joined us. We're like, this is crazy, but it's good crazy. It's good crazy. It's crazy for now. It's crazy for the aeon, right? I said be decoherent, so it's very decoherent. But no, it isn't, because that's kind of antithetical. I'm sorry, Mike, I shouldn't say that. It's antithetical to how you look at the world, and but you're saying be in flux. So we're all saying the same thing, but we're looking at it different angles, and we're bringing our own perspectives to it, which is important because we all live on different material grounds. But we might also arise on the same ground, which is also your consciousness. Maybe that's why we can speak to each other. Even like for me, I speak multiple languages. I know other people in the chat do, no problem. But we all happen to be speaking English. We're all primary English speakers. But yeah, we've all had different life experiences, different sort of points of crisis and rectification and synthesis and understanding, and then we go through this crazy thing, and then we all end up on the internet. We were sort of gated, you could say, pushed through a gate of the internet, and we were like, yeah, we're actually going to do something with it. We're going to take the reins of the archons. We're going to talk shit, but it's not really talking shit in a dialectical way. It's really talking shit in a way to resolve yourself, if you want the truth. So that's really where we're at. So Moonblade, thank you so much. Sick bro, appreciate you. Great on the timeline. Yes, you are the 80% European Steep Kang land shark. Much obliged. Very good. Thank you so much. Robin, thank you. Check out Robin. She's an artist, and she has lots of cool stuff. She jumped on space with Mr. Montgomery Carlo, who is launching his own space series in a month. So shout out to that. And Mr. T-Well, yes, thank you for the correction, and I apologize for that. I actually wasn't at all inebriated. No, I'm not inebriated. I had not partaken in any substances prior to when we were recording for the first hour, and then so Rage commented that I got a little more chill. Maybe that's why. So the gummy kicked in, Joseph. So that's basically what happened. So let's be honest. So that's where we're at. And so thank you, Mr. T-Well, and I appreciate you, and I greatly look forward to working with you. And I'm really glad you became a lodge member. And I honestly, I have a special connection to Dharma people because I fundamentally believe, at least believe, that I am Dharmic as well, or I'd like to. I'd like to be brought into that wheel or that truth and that view. So special connection with Dharma people. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. Mookie Krotikini comes from the lands of the, I don't know. I don't even know. Like, what is Europe anymore? Like, what is the world anymore? It is just a crazy, crazy place. I'm just too pro-American. That's all. You know, we wave those Happaborian flags very high, loud. It's very Mexican. I feel like if there was a Happaborian aesthetic, it's kind of China and kind of Mexican, like, but kind of mixed together, but not China as in like the, mainland, like LED cities. I mean more cooler, like Hong Kong 1992, like mixed with that. So it's like a mixture. That's cooler, I think. It's like much more Kino. Yeah. Or Tokyo. I think Tokyo is a very Kino place, and it's not inherently beautiful, but it's very Kino. The light is always very specific, and the sky is always very specific. That's all Kino is. Just a Kabbalistic capturing of the light with the camera, which is also a magic tool. Very alchemical. Everything about photography and trapping light, right? Capturing light, at least for a moment. It's just magic. My friend Leo, who's also Hapa, we're in a group chat with Joe and Allie and about a dozen other Hapa boys, all mixed race. And so one thing Leo was saying was, he was asking me about, well, he asked me a very profound things all the time. So he would ask me like, okay, are we going into the Aeon of the Longhouse? And I've always said no, because it's not. It's the daughter, not the mother. So thank God. So yeah. So we get to be liberated from the Longhouse. What is the Aeon of the son in relation to the daughter? Well, as I said last week, it's a relationship in flux. It can be together. I think Joseph also agrees with this. It's like a neither nor. So it's like it can be a Sizgi, or it can be perhaps a couple in Yab Yum. I prefer the Yab Yum kind of idea, but I'm not saying it's the only. And so I think they're complementary. So I think you can just think of it like that. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even have to be like strictly what I'm saying. It can be just, it's emptiness and something else. So just think of it like that. It's like in flux. Everything's in flux. So be flexible with your ideas and opinions. That's kind of I think a good way to close even. But I want to say, obviously, thank you to Mookie, but obviously, thank you to Avi. I'm sorry. I'm feeling very speculative. So the river is, or the waters are, free flowing and clear. That's a joke. Avi, thank you so much for coming. Appreciate all your support for the last almost a year. Amazing. It'll be a year in October since we started Aeon of the Daughter a year ago, a year and a day. High Guardian Angel shit. We did it. Live read Libra 49 together on a Gonzo audio Gnostic gospel. It's pretty cool, to be honest. How many podcasters have done that? How many people are saying, let's walk through the gateway together? I'm not saying I'm I'm not saying I'm it, but yeah, I'm kind of it. So, and that means that you're all it though, because we all did this in synthesis. We all did this in consent. We all did this fucking together. And I always acknowledge that, because I'm really not, my ipsos or my ego, really my ego is not of it's not, I don't have to be the vessel. What I have to be is I like to be told that I'm the smartest. I'm the best. I'm the one. That's what it is for me. I need to be told that, but I don't need to be that. I'm a much more Ketu person than I'm a Rahu person, but I'm also a Rahu person. So just watch out. Okay, Avi, thank you. So that was really about Avi in like a very meandering kind of wild way. So Avi, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you. We invite the Dakinis, as always, as the manifestation of the Sangha. They who are the ocean of splendor before us, perfect and burning wisdom. Very interesting. Ram, Frater Singapura, who has also been there since day one. I don't know how we met, but I honestly couldn't imagine my internet experience or not even Twitter, because we're multi-platform now. Multi-platform friends. You're honestly, I know that you don't want to come on and you don't want to speak and you think it's whatever, and you're always welcome, but I also am not a bugger. Like, I'm not going to tell you to like do it. You don't have to do it, but I'd like you to if you want. If you feel like you should or you feel like you want to, then please do. But I do also feel like you're part of Threshold Saints because of the ideas that you talk about in the chat and just in general, because obviously you get it and you know where we're going, and you know some of my more private ideas, which is not nefarious. It's not the 99 Cabal gang, but yeah, maybe it is, because it's like we're going to be non-dual, right? And we're also not going to go to extremes, which means that I have to try to not go to extremes either. That's going to be a challenge, but we're going to try. Okay. So that being said, thank you, Ron. Cassandra, Lodge member, Jewelry, Kabbalah, Gnosticism. Her Lilith astrology series is incredible. Please go watch them if you're interested in asteroids. I think it's worthwhile. I think the asteroids and the Ketu, there's a reason that I'm a Ketu person, and Cassandra and I have that kind of like thing where she probably thinks I'm like a little bit wild wing, not sometimes, but then she's like, yeah, actually, Jin kind of knows some things. Yeah, I do. I do kind of know some things. So as does Cassandra. So thank you so much. Zach Schumer, thank you so much for being here for the Tracy Twyman series. Again, I know I have to always credit you for Don Da Don, because Zach introduced me to Don Da Don. I know it's Mookie's favorite, and now Mookie and I can share that, and we always do. But it was really Zach who's like, you got to watch this, and I was like, I was kind of like in a black pill, honestly. I was like reading too much of the timeline, and they were like, all anime shit, everything's the worst, everything's bad, and like I do kind of think Hollywood shit. I'm sorry, Joseph. Like I'm kind of ready for it to go. Just gonna be honest. I'm a cinephile. Like I love Kino. I love Kino. I do not love anything that's come out since like 2012. I'm just being honest. Like, yeah, I'm sure there are good movies. I'm sure I totally missed some. I'm not saying that I'm the arbiter of taste. In fact, I've been specific about not getting into film Twitter or those kind of spaces, simply because I didn't feel like I could even articulate them in a way that was interesting, intelligent, or coherent. But honestly, I've listened to enough film podcasts now that I'm like, yeah, I'm actually can do a better job, or at least I can do my own job, which is likely better than a lot of them. So I feel like it's not that I want to be a film podcaster. I don't. I want to say that I have a deep appreciation for the medium, and I think it's like informed me as like a human being and also a magician and a man and like all those things in both negative and positive ways. But now looking back at it, a lot of those aesthetic, right? Aesthetic is violence. So a lot of those aesthetic choices now I'm able to look at more maybe hermeneutically, like where did I come from? So that being said, Don Da Don has become a series that I'm currently watching in perception of things being a hermeneutic. So what an interesting full circle, really. And one of our newest lodge members, Bibliomancer, who teaches me bad words, but that's okay because I don't really know what they mean. So probably Jin will reconfigure it or figure out a way to subtly or subversively use them now that I've learned them. Is really how it usually goes, is that I learn something from a Zoomer and then I can kind of remix it and be like, yeah, I'm going to do this post-generational kind of like Kino word posting. I mean, that's really what I wanted to be always, was like a mixed media visual and like word artist, but really like a filmmaker. That's kind of what it is, but in a more non-narrative way. Like a narrative, but it's not chronological. It's not really going to be coherent to everybody. I've always loved experimental cinema. I mean, come on. Every tantric is like this. Go to any, there's so many enigmas, lamas that are in experimental jazz bands that do experimental filmmaking. I mean, come on, you've got so many that make experimental sound, noise, music. Why? Because you're exploring the frequencies of the fucking universe in your own consciousness, in perception. You're taking in a thing of the outer form and you're doing a ritual. You're not being sicko. You're trying to experiment with consciousness, because that's really what this is. That's what this place is. I know that a lot of the Buddhist Twitter disagrees with me and hates me and has blocked me. I totally get it, because I can even see people who would support me. I'm not saying in a malding or a sad way. I'm not sad anymore. I realize that trying to express to people that there is like a more fundamental nature where you don't need magic, you don't need tantra, you don't need any of these things. You can just use like the three fundamental or four noble truths. You can just use those fundamental ideas, or you can say, let's read the Pranaparamita Sutra, or let's even read the Bible. Let's try and read the Bible like without a dogmatic frame. Let's try and I'm not talking about politics. I'm really not. I'm talking about Kabbalah, because Kabbalah is really the root of it. And not going on the right or left hand path, but going on the more powerful path, which is one of consciousness, one of psychic. I like Solar likes to tease, because he knows it bothers the parapolitical Twitter at my expense, kind of. Thanks, Solar. It's fine. But he says like we're like the temple of psychic youth, like in obviously a nod to Tracy Twyman. And yeah, it kind of is, but without like a weird tranny as the leader. So yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's like we're going to talk about consciousness and politics and like being together and like all these cheesy fucking leftoid things, and we're going to sing Kumbaya, talk about magic, and we're going to talk about transgressive magic and what that means in 2025, and why we shouldn't be steep Kangz, and why we shouldn't reimagine ourselves as like the proto-Aryan victor race, because you know our you know we're, I don't know, all those people have race issues. Like, let's be honest. Like, as a Hapaborean, I'm well equipped to speak on this issue of like identity issues. Like, I'm gonna just be really serious, like really real, because Solar's not even in the room, so I won't even offend him on purpose, which it would be on purpose. It would never be accidental. If it was accidental, I'd honestly be hurt, because it wouldn't be my intention to hurt someone's feelings. I would have to do it with my will. So I'm gonna say this: a lot of white identity politics are just as bullshit as brown identity politics, and I'm racist, and I'm gonna say that. And I like white people, and I'm still gonna say that. I'm just being honest. It's as retarded and it's as leftoid. If you want the truth, I can see through it. I'm just telling you, it doesn't really make sense to me. It's like, how can you critique it? How can you critique those like Black people doing it? And you're doing the same thing. It's like the peak hypocrisy. Peak hypocrisy. And I hate hypocrisy, because it is a paradox too, right? And it is also a klipothic act, hypocrisy. It's very Gevratic, and actually it's the Klipa of Gevra. So that's not a really great Klipa. It's a really powerful Klipa, really powerful, but really negative, really negative. So I advise to not play in that polarity, because that's going to be really hard to rectify later on. But that's a choice, right? We're all agents of our own will. Some people will choose retardation. That's how it goes. And we can pray for them. We can do Vajrasattva. I know that they hate me for saying that even, which is weird, because if you really ask any good Lama, they would tell you, no problem, start Vajrasattva tomorrow. Okay, great. Start Green Tara tomorrow. Okay, great. I can take you all the way. Okay, great. Obviously, I relate those to Kabbalah. So if I say, rectify is sowed, well, what does Vajrasattva sit on if not a moon disk? What do you think that's referring to? Well, that's interesting. Or green Tara, blue-green Tara, infinite in mercy. That could be very Hasidic. What do you think? I don't know. Maybe. Speculative. Love Yanka Cutlery Drawer. Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate you. I know this is probably like wild and meandering at the end, but I do miss doing those crazy. It wasn't really solo, but it was kind of just. I appreciate everybody for tolerating it, and yeah, I get to be the prince or the king for a few hours at least. And then we let it all go, and you all ignore me for a week, and then you're like, Jin, where's our space? That's pretty much what it is. I'm just kidding. It's not like that at all. It's really me being like weird and speculative in the chat, and then people respond to me, and then I can't really not respond because I don't have good well, you all know already. I can't really, if I want to say something, it's just going to come out. It's almost going to just like come out in text, but in like stream of consciousness. So yeah, you all know already. Okay. I'll just clip this at the end to like, save the humiliation of saying that. Okay. Love Bianca Cutlery Drawer. Thank you so much for coming. I'm sure you didn't know what you were going to get, but I hope it was enjoyable. Obviously, the first part with the boys. I know you've come to spaces so many times, in fact, but I'm glad that you finally joined the lodge, and I'm happy if you want to contribute anything or chat or not, or it's obviously all in consent, so it's all up to you what you want to do with it. But there's a pretty high bar to entry, so if you want to chat, that's great too, because we do. It really is. It does come like a lot of ideas are generated for real. Like Rom will say something and be like, yeah, I'll think about that. Then he'll be like, and then I'll tell him later, I was like, don't you think that's a little edgelord? And he'll be like, tee hee hee hee, yes. And I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. You're being Kabbalistic. You're trying to do like a sub. He's like, Matt will just say this is Kabbalah, and Rom will just be like, no, we have to take it to like this extreme Saturn maxing, Rahu maxing. That's what he always says, right? And obviously Solar, who's like very logical, very analogical, like a very analogical person. I don't always know, like he gets a little annoyed with it, I think, at times. Not maybe lately, he's been very flexible, but sometimes he does get a little annoyed with it. And I'm like, yo, dude, he's joking. He's kidding. Like, you just have to take it conceptually and then let it go. He gets it, but I think just with words and Rom being a Zoomer. But Bibliomancer did tell me I was a spiritual Zoomer. I think I am too, to be honest. I am kind of. Because I can synthesize words and I can understand to a degree what they're saying. And it is a very different language. It is. Bibliomancer taught me a bunch of things I had never even thought of in my whole life. I have the internet. So, anyways, that's pretty much where we're at. What else? That's it. So I've got tons of episodes that I've been neglectful to release this week because I was honestly burnt out. Plus, I had released tons in the last 2 weeks. Plus, I knew we had to do space, so I had to save some energy, right? And so that's basically where we're at. So yeah, Threshold Saints, we are migrating to YouTube as well. So hopefully that will be good cross promo for each other. Obviously, the spaces are what we're known for, kind of. Like I'm known for my show, but then the spaces are really what is people know. People know. People tell me, big people. They're like, yeah, they're cool. They're different. They're different. And they are. So because I don't really give a shit. I don't want to do like a boomer fest fucking like, let's talk about like how to be right wing. And I don't want to talk about like it's all the Jays either. Or it's all Zog. Like, yeah, Naga, it's all Zog. All Zog in your fucking mind. Anyways, we don't have to get into that. But no, I mean it's real and not real, right? It's real and not real. Things are the names that you call them. And when you call things names, you call them to you. Tantra 101. Okay, that being said, thank you all for tolerating, listening, appreciating, and of course, the adoration, love in an empty space, maybe, but also full. We did pretty good numbers tonight, to be honest. I'm just telling you. I could tell. When I opened it up, it was like 60 people. I was like, oh shit. I'm not going to be able to like be a fucking idiot. Well, I always kind of am. But I mean, I am and I'm not. That's kind of the crazy. That's the Droyon. That's the whole part of the spaces. It's like you get to hear me be off the cuff because I have to be a lot more buttoned up on the show, and I actually prefer that. So then when I come to the spaces, I can be, let's fucking go. Kind of uncontained. Yeah, that's what it is. It's uncontained. Acoustic, but like something else. Something else. I have some like Nigma noise master behind me, kind of like speaking the empty words into existence with his like triangle. Right? Or I guess he has all the platonic shapes, really. Which we, by the way, in Tantra, you actually visualize the elements as the platonic solids. So just think about that. How similar it all is. And how love is the cause of knowledge, especially for this aeon. Right? Because aeons are determined by their kind of concept, pure concept, which is also post-conceptual, but maybe you're not ready for that. I mean, maybe all of you are ready for that, obviously, and we've discussed it. But for like a quote-unquote normie, love is the cause of knowledge, as Ram has in his bio, as Lamed Mem Delet. That's what the Path 22 Hebrew is, Lamed Mem Delet, love as the cause of knowledge. It's very profound. Also interesting that Lalita Tripura Sundari, Kurkula, in Tibetan, her name means love as the cause of knowledge. So she is a very important Dakini in the speculative Kalachakra mandala. So I think that's kind of telling us something really profound. Not take it in a hoe way. That was like the 90s and all the times that came before. People couldn't handle that polarity. They couldn't handle it. So do you want to be one of those? Or are we going to like actually be like, okay, we're going to like handle our shit. We're not going to be all over the place. We're not going to go all over the place. We're not going to impregnate 1,500 people. I mean, if that's what you want to do, I guess that's great. But then I also think like this is a kind of moderating time. So this is actually like a better, doesn't mean be volcel or incel or anything. I'm not saying that. I'm, again, imperfect beings in an imperfect world, but it is a kind of aeon of moderation. Why? Because you're kind of restricting how much is in your consciousness and then also how much is in your perception in synthesis. Meaning that, are you aware of all the karmic implications? Every time you go hook up with someone, I've said this so many times, it's probably so boring, but every time you hook up with someone, that's a karmic implication for maybe many lifetimes potentially. So I'm just saying, like, if you're in higher perception, higher awareness, higher consciousness, you're going to be more aware of where you create karmic connections. That doesn't mean never have sex. It just means that just moderate it. Maybe it doesn't have to be online. Maybe you don't post about it. That's a really novel idea. That's actually even a transgressive. You want to talk about transgressive rituals? Maybe it would be an interesting transgressive ritual if people didn't post about their explicit pictures, images, and sex lives. Maybe just people keep it to their private life. It's kind of interesting. Anyways, okay. That was a good riff. I think that was plenty. Okay. So love is the cause of knowledge, in fact. All material is empty, fundamentally, which is luminousness and masslessness. And all wisdom science can really be understood in non-duality. But you have to contain it with bodhicitta. You have to. We know that because all these other times of synthesis, aeons of synthesis have come before. In fact, one of the key themes for the aeon of the sun is synthesis, as he is of Tiferet, which is the Sephra of synthesis. It's not the only one, but it's the primary one, and it's also the golden vessel. But the golden vessel has to be filled with what? Emptiness, which is also wisdom. So basically, that's what it is. Secret to the universe, alchemical marriage, Yesod and Tiferet, bring it into synthesis and rectification both at the same time. The great work is really your own lives. It's really hard. It sounds great on recording probably, but it's not a process. It's like a long process. And then the more you fucked up, the more you have to rectify. It's pretty easy. It's just simple, basic math. Just like think of like someone in like AA, but like maybe it's not AA as in like drinking. Maybe it's AI as in, or not AI. Maybe it's AA in your life. Like maybe it's taking like full account of like all those implications, good or bad. That doesn't make you, you're not fixed as that, but you can't practice that anymore. I'm saying you can do what you will, of course. I'm going to present it in a Dharmic frame, but I also think it's like important to think about it and maybe consider if those things bore fruit or not. Not everything in your life has borne fruit, and no one can say that it has. And that's what I can say from my perspective, that when I was involved, not involved per se, but more intellectually invested in a more anti-cosmic left-hand path view, that did not bear fruit for me because I was also very left-wing in my political opinions. And I think that was, and Solar and I have talked about this privately. I think we've also talked about it on space once, but those ideas can be also entwined very much. So if you hate the world, fundamentally, that will be the world. It will be a world of hatred, aversion. If you love the world, well, it can turn into a beautiful burning girl. With that being said, I'm Jin the Ninja. This was The Grey Lodge plus Ultra Presents Friday Night Gnostic Mass, Shaman fucking Kangz. Yeah, don't be a wee was Kangz. That's my other advice. Don't be a wee was Kangz. Don't get too involved and invested. All history is fucking relative and speculative. Just look at it in flux. Just be chill. You're Quicksilver Surfers, right? Okay, sermon over. Thank you guys. Ihaye, Asher, Ihaye, thank you for dropping in right at the mic drop. And obviously, treat each other with bodhicitta. And I like that you, and one thing I will say is that I didn't ever have to ask any of you one time, but you supported the spaces, you support each other. That's the most interesting thing, is that you organically support each other right away. And when I don't see, because I don't see any of your things, I have to go look at them. And so you all support each other. You all retweet each other. You're excited for each other. And we're just going to keep doing that. And not because I tell you or because you are obligated. You're not obligated to share anything of mine, of the space, or of anyone else. But if you like what they have, and because this is a really interesting group of people, I do encourage you to do that, because that is a good show of bodhicitta. And in a timeline that is shit, put some fucking good stuff on it. Put some good kino. Good kino can save the world, basically. And that was the other thing about Fifth Element. That's a sci-fi epic. So also go watch that. After Battlestar, go watch Fifth Element. And then the whole world will make sense. You'll be like, the whole Aeonic cycle, and then an Aeon of the Daughter movie. And then you'll be like, Jin was fucking right. And I'll be like, yeah, I was fucking right. So anyways, that is everything. Thank you so much. Love you guys. Really appreciate it. I look forward to these every week. I look forward to episode drops. I look forward to chat. I look forward to DMs. My DMs are not open, just for the record, if anyone's listening back. But if you're in the chat, my DMs are open. But I don't answer DMs. I don't talk to people. I'm total, I'm a true dark cell. I'm like I like my anonymity and my thing, but in the chat, yeah, we're animated and we're full on. So thank you guys. That makes it all worthwhile, because obviously Twitter is not fun really without your friends, really. And so It's cool that we can do this for as long as it lasts. I hope it lasts forever. I know like nothing can last forever, but it's cool. And we left our imprint on the archive in the Aether Wave on an app called X, 10 and the 11. It's pretty cool. Consensual magic. Purifying the timeline, purifying the words. That's what you do when you speak in bodhicitta. That's a very Buddhist idea, that you purify the words that you speak. So it's very profound to take, like, to do something like this and to like even have my ideas be somewhat acceptable. So, okay, I'm really going. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you so much. Amazing space as always. Probably since we added the 8, it has become something else, something so much more magical than it ever was. So that's pretty cool. It's really like occult legends. You want to talk about? I teased Matt this. You guys think I was kidding? That's not kidding. That's occult fucking legends. People talk about Peter Carroll and that whole group of chaos magicians like they were fucking like gods on the mountain. Do you know how cool that was as a kid? I'm not talking about Crowley or anything. I'm talking about like those guys. That's who I like, right? So I was like, yeah, they're like the kings. So it's like, yeah, we kind of put together an underground like occult idea in synthesis on X, totally organically. You know, whatever happens forward, it was kind of like it was a little bit of an epic, a little bit of a legend, a little bit aeonic. So good job. Everybody can go to bed, hopefully, and think about that. Or as those of you starting your day, have a great day. Peace out, my nagas.